G'day, ladies and gentlemen, blokes and Sheilas, freedom lovers, freedom fighters. Sips to you on this Sunday. A happy solstice Sunday. It is the solstice today, the longest day of the year for 3 days. Fascinating that it just happens to be close to Christmas. Coincidence? I don't know. I wasn't there. Mate, at least I'm pretty sure I wasn't. Not in this lifetime, anyway. So, I suppose we'll just get straight into it, eh? G'day, Heidi, Jacquie,
Hello.
and Darryl.
G'day.
How are we all?
Good.
Good, thanks, mate.
Happy Solstice Day?
Happy solstice.
Mm.
Solstice.
So, the wild, wacky world that we live in today, not only is it the solstice, but Three-Eye Atlas made its close past to us at about 4 o'clock Queensland time yesterday, Arvo. Setting off the Sherman residence and doing all sorts of strange things. Anybody find anything interesting in the last 24 hours?
Nothing outlandish down Melbourne way. No. Skies are still the same.
Yeah.
Good energy, though. I reckon there's good energy around.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a lot of negative.
Feeling positive. Feeling really positive. We got this.
Yeah, we can do it.
Yep.
Okay, Matt, how are you, mate? So, who would like to give a bit of a wrap of where we're at and what we're doing at the end of this year now? Where shall we start?
Where shall we start?
Something from our regional council, which would be interesting to see what other regional councils are putting out. They're actually, I'll read it to you. It says, as the year draws close, we pause to reflect on the progress, blah, 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 blah. Christmas, sorry, I got the wrong glasses on, offers a welcome opportunity to recharge, connect, and re-energize for the future. So they're using all the subliminal UN WEF messages in the regional council, and they don't even say Merry Christmas. They say, we hope you have a wonderful festive season. Yep.
That sounds pretty typical. I don't think I could stomach looking at what our bloody council put out, but I might just give it a crack and see what they've put out. But it'd probably be almost word for word the same jargon.
Economic Development Quarterly.
Economic Development Quarterly, did you say?
I think that's another word for laundering money.
It sounds about right.
So it's gone from the 5 pillars in our area, which was agriculture, aquaculture, mining, tourism, what have you, and now it's brought back to 3 pillars. So they've changed the entire format, and we are growing towards 2030 agenda. So they're outright saying it in the Christmas economic development.
Mm.
We're just being attacked from every angle. That's the bottom line of it. We've got that much on our plates and what needs to be fixed. You know, our farmers having the land taken off them, people struggling to make ends meet, etc. And I don't know, shall we open up with the latest news psyop in Bondi, another mass murder by government? With, you know, I mean, come on. John Howard, the instigator of the Port Arthur massacre that's been conveniently sealed and concealed for 75 years. I think it was 2 days prior to Bondi, make some speech about we need stronger gun laws. Now, Australia has the harshest, strictest gun laws than anywhere in the world. And all we've got here is good people, you know, responsible people, gun owners who, you know, have they store their weapons correctly. They go through all the procedures and the protocols. And, oh, my God, it's like nowhere in the world the hoops you've got to leap through. And
Mm.
it's just another attack to disarm the nation and leave us helpless, when the fact of it is due to government, and they're supporting, Darryl. Our government is funding genocide. Basically, I don't know how many millions. It would be well over $100 million. They have funded Israel to genocide a people.
Mm.
Nothing to do with Australia. Why the fuck are we not just funding them with money? Why are we also supplying them with military hardware to murder people? And they wonder why we've got a tax here in Australia, because this government is funding genocide. That's my opinion anyhow. They're putting all Australians in danger. So I say, you know what? Every Australian now needs to be armed and carry arms so we can defend ourselves. Because what they're trying to do is leave us weak, vulnerable, and defenceless.
And
You've got,
dependent.
government intelligence agencies have failed to screen people coming in. I mean, the whole thing's freaking orchestrated. It's an absolute bloody joke. We've got to
Jacquie,
stand up, Australia.
I turn around and I sort of go, my opinion on what the indifferences, the multiple indifferences, even the gunman having a long sleeve shirt in one shot and a short sleeve shirt in another shot, and people standing around, and it just the bleedingly obvious that unless you see it or you don't see it, is I don't hold any position on religion or anything like that. I always maintain believe in what you want to believe in.
Mm.
That's your choice. But, classic example was the mother of Matilda, that they sang Waltzing Matilda at her funeral when she went to a Russian school. That where am I going? They're talking about that when they left Ukraine and how they came away to get away from the disaster zone. But we are immigrating people from both sides of that war. So where's the war going to come to? It's going to come here, isn't it? Because if you're doing it over there.
They're putting Australians in danger is what they're doing. They've made our country vulnerable, and they're making Australians vulnerable by removing any potential for us to defend ourselves and protect our families. We need to be carrying arms. I did a post earlier just saying you got to look at countries like Texas and Sweden, okay? They carry arms. They walk around with their guns. There is no home invasions. There is no shops being burgled. There is no machete attacks. There are no massacres, because good people can defend themselves and nobody would dare step out of line. And this is why I say we need to be armed.
There's a guy in Mackay, I think it was about a week ago, a burglar actually his window open, from what I understand, smashed his window open to take into his house, and he had a taser, and he tasered the intruder, and he's now facing charges.
This country's upside down. I tell you, this government has got to go. They are absolutely criminal. Everything is in absolute reverse to what it should be. This is the thing. We've got to recognise that the people are the Commonwealth. We are the supreme ultimate authority of this nation. And it's time we all stood up. Look, I love what Keith Charles is doing. I've got my live birth certificate. And as Dawn said, I love Dawn Kelly. I'll quote her words. The adults have arrived. So we are all of the age of maturity. We are standing up, and we need to reclaim. It's a claim of right. We're claiming our country back and the Commonwealth, all the equity and wealth, and we need to start forming government peacefully and lawfully, as always, under the supreme written law of this land. It's the only way. We've got to get rid of these criminals. They're bankrupting the country.
Rumor
And I
has
think we
it there
dived
are
into
some-
that pretty good on Friday night's episode there with the Commonwealth Constitution. Well, truth, I've gone. What is it? Custodians. Sorry, Commonwealth
Custodians, yeah.
Custodians.
Keith's done a great job.
So anybody
I,
wants to know more about that current strategy, probably go back to that podcast. We went into it pretty extensively. So yeah, I highly recommend. There's a good Christmas present for you, ladies and gentlemen, especially if it works.
anyone heard the rumor of what Anna von Ritz has just achieved in the international court at Guantanamo Bay? No one's heard. Apparently, there's been huge success, and I say this as rumor, with 400 lawyers that stood by her side, and it does link up with the custodians and certain opinions. I haven't got it on any truth of authority that this has happened, but definitely something's happened in regards to the Lima Agreement and how all these companies are structured within companies. Because really, at the end of the day, our government's run by somebody that's got money, and we're just workers for the company. That's what we are.
Yeah, well, it's a corporation. That's the thing. And all the arms and the limbs of government are corporate. So they're bleeding the country dry. Absolutely bleeding us dry. I drove back from the airport the other day via Greensboro. Look, I know there's a lot of work also going on up in New South Wales and Sydney. I don't know about Queensland, but Victoria, there must be billion-dollar road projects going on here that have been going on for years. Greensboro, Bundoora, it's in the north, south, east, west. It is insane. And this country is bankrupt and in debt, which is also bullshit, as we know, with this fiat system. They just print money off and there's nothing to back it. You know, we've got one of the wealthiest countries in the world. Where's all our money? Where's the Consolidated Revenue Fund? Where's our taxes going? Who owns all of our utilities? Where's all the money from our oil, our water, our steel? You know, it's absolutely our gas,
uranium and the gold,
uranium, etc. Every Australian should be getting $50,000 to $100,000 in their bank account from the royalties of the money that we are making in this country. But it's all being siphoned off by this government allowing foreign corporations and entities to rape and pillage our country. Our forests are... I tell you, that's something else I've noticed that we have to get onto this. The forests, I drive all over Victoria, throughout Victoria and all the way from New South Wales down into Victoria. You can drive for 7 or 8 hours. All of our forests are being absolutely strangled and suffocated by vines. And they are our oxygen. They are our oxygen and they are our carbon sinks. So they stop the burns because we need to burn. We need to do controlled burns in this country. Australia's unique as in our plants, like our gums, for example, they have adapted to fire. So a lot of our native plants actually rely on fire to regenerate their seed pods to crack open, for example, hakeas. And our gums have got an adaptation under the bark, under the camber, which is the epicormic growths. So when a bushfire goes through, the gums all start to regenerate all the way up the trunk. So we've got to start the burn-offs. We're about to lose all our forests because these assholes are not maintaining anything. How many topics
what happened the last time in Victoria? Was it King Lake? The whole place went down?
King Lake, straight viewing. That was Black Saturday. I watched it. We were driving across with flames leaping across the road because they're not burning. They're not doing the back burns. This is the problem. They are not doing the back burns, which are
But there's
controlled.
also another element. They're playing with the weather, spraying God knows what out around, drying places out intentionally.
Sorry, I did a podcast with some fireys that are screaming out for the back burns, and the reason they're not able to do the back burns is because the chief of the fire station is actually held liable if that burn was to get out of control. So people in charge of the back burning aren't comfortable letting the back burning happen because the full liability is being put on the employee or employee of the state as the individual responsible.
Wow.
Oh, look, it's
What's my motivation here?
Yeah, I actually saw signs on the main freeways this morning. You light it, you own it.
Wow.
So that's a
I
bit
haven't
look,
seen that.
the thing with the
Only
it
in the
comes back down
communist
to the
state of
same thing.
Victoria.
The police act in their own complainant. All the you've got teachers, you've got nurses, you've got all of those people. They are all personally liable. They don't understand that anyone working for the state is personally liable. For what happens.
well, let's start taking
Obviously, someone
government
in the
down.
fire is-
Government need to be taken down. Then they're a part. They are the state.
Well, there you go.
That's the
I'd like
thing.
to see will the victims of the Bondi thing take John Howard to court for being personally liable for his inactions? It's an interesting question. I did
Well,
have
yeah.
a quick look in the background here, responding to what you were saying earlier, Jacquie. And it does seem that yes, there was amazingly a call from John Howard. This is actually seems to be on the day, the 14th of December, that he's actually done it. But if you go
See, it was
back,
2 hours before the shooting. It was on the day.
yeah.
What
So I can
they are
bring
shitting
exactly,
in our faces.
yeah.
Sorry.
So if I bring this video up, this is exactly on that particular instance. Let's see how it goes. Sorry. But I did also note back in May, this is probably rather relevant too, back May the 9th, 2025, 29 years on, Australia's gun laws still fall short of John Howard's pledge. Convenient placing this article 6 months beforehand. Very convenient.
Fall short of what? We've got the strictest, harshest gun laws in the world.
Well, we don't have
And
a
we've
national
got the
firearms register, apparently, is one of the problems. We still allow minors to hold some licenses and operate firearms. I don't know about you. When we were down at Bondi just recently, I didn't see a whole bunch of children holding guns. Australia still allows minors to hold. Yep, okay. Australia's gun control laws vary from state to state, making them difficult to enforce. All the laws vary from fucking state to state. What kind of retardation is that?
It's always trying to put it on the people. Always putting it back on the people. The government are to blame. Gun owners are responsible people. They do the hoops they have got to leap through. Police can come out unannounced is my understanding, and that is part of the contract. If you that you sign when you get a gun license and you purchase firearms, the police can come in and check at any time that they're kept in a safe. The ammunition's kept separately, etc.
Really big
It's
problem.
absolutely
Really big problem because police themselves don't have a gun license.
No, it's
so
part
the
of the
police
uniform.
when they do their cadetships, the gun, as I understand, don't quote me, belongs to the station and they have gun training. And I know in a recent case I was watching in relation to a weapons charge, and the police actually had to take the weapon or whatever. And when they were cross-examined on oath, that police officer knew nothing about really how a gun's supposed to, well, don't ask me because I wouldn't know, loaded and this and that and where the safety catch is and all the rest of it. And actually, in fact, when they picked it up, that in the video footage, had it not been secured the right way, it would have been dangerous. So why don't our police have gun licenses, yet we're allowing said 6 guns to said person that was in the shooting? You know what I mean? Shouldn't you have a gun license if you're holding a gun one way or the other?
absolutely, and that's what the gun laws state. You must be licensed, and you've got to. you've got to go through different steps, is my understanding. So you get your gun license and you can only handle up to, I don't even know what the right terminology is, I suppose, a certain caliber. And then you have to go and do more tests or pass
I think it's about
tests.
6 months. It's about 6 months to get a gun license. To do a gun license properly through all those steps, from what I can understand, it's around 6 months. But our police do a cadetship between 5 and 8 months, and they're not only wearing them, they're actually being sent out to use them.
And they don't know how.
Could it be a conundrum of the gun laws being need to be stricter? They need to be stricter across the board. So
they don't need to be stricter. They don't need to be stricter. They are already the strictest, harshest in the world. Yeah.
What I meant is
sorry, Hodge.
Board. So if these, today's show said that they had 6 guns licenses. Okay, let's say they did.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they went through all those protocols. There's a bigger picture. It is what are these guns being used for? Why does someone need 6 guns? I don't believe for a moment that they had 6 guns.
Listen, they're a competition shooting. That's actually an irrelevant consideration, in my opinion. You can have 50 guns if you choose to do whatever sporting. You know, you might be a partake in gun clubs and compete, or you might be a hunter. The point of this is that the government are trying to disarm good people, and it is nothing to do with Australians, what is going on in this country. They are funding Israel, who is genociding, causing genocide. All ties must be cut with Israel. No more funding, no supplying of military hardware. This is absolutely criminal. Our people are struggling to, keep a roof over their head. And and then you got John Howard wearing his celebrating Hanukkah. Come on. This is absolutely ridiculous. And then you've got all these anti-Semitic laws that have come in. Now, that's discrimination. The Jews have got nothing to be scared about. What is all this rubbish? They create these illusionary scenarios that are false. It's the same with LGBTQ plus whatever they are. I mean, we don't care. They can do what they want. You're adults. I'll speak to you. If you're a male and you want to be called a female name, that's fine. I'm happy to do that. But stop shoving it in our faces, and in particular, keep it away from our children. Well, we've got so many issues in this country. Every single one of them is caused by government. What's that saying? They're the cause, and then they offer the bloody solution. What is it?
Problem,
something
reaction, solution.
That's it. Problem action, reaction. Yep.
So Jacquie and Darryl, you're down in Victoria. Mark and I are a little bit, we're in the tropics, so we're a bit isolated where we live. Did you see any other Hanukkah celebration anywhere else, seeing it's a special day anywhere?
No, I'm up in the bush. No. It would be the same with the Muslim celebrations. I don't see any of that. I don't see any religious celebrations other than, I guess Christmas is the only one.
Oh, I'd have to say, up until the Bondi Massacre, my knowledge of Hanukkah come from Mr. Hanky the Christmas Poo in South Park. That's pretty much all I really know about it, and I didn't make that up. That's not, somebody else did that.
How many people actually knew? You might. I live in a little bit of a naive world until all this crap happened to me. But I've asked a few people in my local community, do you know what anti-Semitism means? Because it wasn't a normal word that we grew up knowing what anti-Semitism means, and what does it really actually mean? So if you're out there saying, it means anti-Semitism means that you, i.e., dislike Jewish people. If you are now like pushing, I support the Jews,
No.
I'm this. Is that Semitism?
No,
rather than
no, no.
anti-
No. The Semites, this is my understanding of it anyhow. The Semites are the people who are native to a certain area. So as far as I know, like the Arabs, Semites, and all the people, you know, across the Middle East are Semites. So it doesn't relate to a religion. Like the Semites could be they could be Muslims or they could be Christians. So once again, it's the government creating these fraudulent scenarios. And, you know, humanity is under attack. We're all brothers and sisters. We're all equal. And this is where we've really got to stop falling for the bullshit and all link arms. You know, all religions, all races, creeds and colours. We are all equal. We're brothers and sisters. We've got to stop falling for their divisionary tactics. And I think a big thing with this, the Bondi planned mass murder by government, I don't think they expected that the hero of the day was to be a Muslim man.
Well, didn't it
So I
determine
think
that he
that threw a
wasn't-
spanner in the works.
Oh, I heard somewhere that he wasn't really Muslim. There was just
He
something
was
getting
Muslim.
around a bit. He was?
I actually met
And-
one of his friends in Sydney.
Yep.
He's a Muslim man.
There you go. So I was talking to some people the other day, and they reckon that it had come out they got that wrong, and then all I could find about them getting it wrong was that he wasn't a fruit shop owner; he owned a convenience store or something instead.
Well, when just after Rod and Beverly's matter in the Supreme Court on the 15th of December, just by coincidence, there were two Muslim women that were going up for a case in the Supreme Court as well. And we got chatting, and it was afterwards we bumped into them in the street again. And the lady made comment about, oh, you know, this is all just such a setup. And like we all sort of started talking, going, yeah, we can see right through this too. This is a government psyop. And she said, you know, it was, I can't remember his name, but it was her friend that wrestled the gun off the man. So he was a Muslim man.
Okay, right, there you go. Righto. That's good to know.
So I think everyone's going to have a completely different take on the whole thing, because I don't see any hero. I don't see there was any struggle. I saw this Hollywood falling back. You know, if someone was to wrestle me and I had a gun in my hand, I would just go, oh. You know,
look,
he has to.
I hear what you're saying, it's like he just handed the gun over and walked away. It was like, what is going on here?
There just happened to be a spare gun there. Like
nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense.
If you look at the video footage as well, the father, in some videos he's quite lean, in other videos he's quite overweight. He actually
short sleeves, long sleeves.
The video of the gun actually being wrestled from his brother.
Where's the gunshot?
I'm guessing that's coming from the second shooter. But there's
do you know
got another version I've seen earlier where this guy wanders off a bit, and then some other people come and throw some shit at him, and old mate Lee then goes, right, cool, and puts the gun down up against this tree.
Nothing made sense, and apparently there were police in the vicinity. Apparently, they just did nothing. A bit like what happened with Desi. God, I don't know what's happened to poor Desi, but, you know, same scenario. You got 10 coppers at the property, 2 get shot. What are the other 8 doing? Maybe it's because they don't know how to use a gun.
Well, it was interesting.
Everything's insane.
He said earlier, why did Bondi change gun laws, but Desmond's alleged didn't?
Because with Desi, this is my opinion, I believe they were trying to push their SC agenda, which is just a derogatory term for people who are speaking out against a corrupt government. That came out, that sovereign citizen shit came out 5 days after government had, I'd sent off all the solemn league and covenants as claim of right that the people are the Commonwealth, and this is our claim of right as the sovereign beneficiaries of our nation. Government have forfeited their role as trustee. They've sold us out. They've pillaged and, allowed our country to be pillaged and raped, all its resources. They're bankrupting us. Beautiful sunshine at Fraser.
Could also be, just to throw a spanner in the works, I heard on the news, so it must be real, that
that's the best joke. That was the ultimate crappy joke this time of year. Love it.
Love it.
Must be real. As real as Santa is. So basically all the victims said victims, and it's funny, it's like and I don't mean to be rude, but it was the same in the Sydney stabbing, from my opinion, like the high five cast. You got a young one, you got an older one, you got this one or that one. I mean, if you were shooting, how do you know in a festival of people who's Jewish, right? Oh, you look.
Well, I guess everybody that's turned up for the Hanukkah celebration is pretty,
it's just like bang bang,
likely target.
Well,
look, nothing made sense.
Well, that's interesting because the highest population of Jewish people are around Bondi, Potts Point, all of that, around that area, which potentially is a very wealthy area. So, I'm going to leave that there. But what I'm saying is now they've got their funerals being paid for. We've seen funerals happen in days, when it should be investigated, what gun, what bullet. There should be coroners.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We're not seeing anything but the same footage. But the big thing is 15 people died in a horrific way. Okay, it's not a news story. It's happened throughout history. They sent the army, our soldiers walking in a line and getting shot, right? So what about all the vaccine sudden deaths and injuries?
Oh, absolutely. What about the lies?
Thousands. Are their funerals being paid for? Is there a day?
Yeah, exactly.
Is everyone doing a surfboard rally for them? Is that all on the net? No, it's not.
No, look, it's a safe and effective not. Look, someone just wrote there about One Nation. Pauline Hanson is an absolute freaking sellout. She is a narcissistic bitch. And I tell you, all of those senators put together, every single one of those senators have done zero for this country other than blab, 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 telling us everything we want to hear. Rod Culleton is the only senator that is actually doing stuff for the people, fighting for the farmers, representing us in the Section 92, representing all Australians. Those, I tell you, it's an absolute sham.
And she was more than happy to, turn her back on him too once the shit got too hot for her. So,
she didn't like that Rod was more popular than her.
Yeah,
Darryl,
because Rod was actually doing stuff.
Coleman versus Power.
Yeah.
We're going to need Coleman versus Power.
Well, that's fine. I can say what I want so long as I do not incite violence. You can offend someone, and was it young Darryl? Was that Kirby that said, "If you're offended, pack your bags, go back to your homeland, because you can't live life." Not being offended. The only thing you're not allowed to do is incite violence or defame someone. And if that occurs, you've got the Crimes Act that will then step in and you'll get charged accordingly. So
unless you're on the Melbourne Herald saying that you caused violence, what was the sovereign citizen thing, causing danger, violence, something or other, and I'm in the middle of it.
The only I was on. They had me in the background on my megaphone with all the news reports. Like, fair income, the only sovereign citizens we have in this country are those in government who are violent towards the people and they think that the supreme written law of our nation doesn't apply to them. They are the only
Well,
ones that meet
maybe
the
it's time.
definition of sovereign citizen. No one else does.
True.
It's
Maybe
insane.
it's time to remove parliamentary and judicial immunity to make these people
Absolutely.
accountable for their own jobs. So, you know, when they stand on Parliament floor and they're allowed, is it Section 42, Darryl? I'm not quite sure. They're allowed to say whatever they want to say. Like, you know, Albo can turn around and say, oh, you've got Tourette's, and that's not hate speech because it's done in Parliament. You know,
But it's,
and
Parliamentary privilege.
if you homeschooled a child and put them in front of politics as a part of a class for the day, you'd end up with a pretty mucked up kid.
Oh, look, it's a circus in there. All they do is abuse each other. It's like, it's ridiculous. This is the thing. We can say what we want. We can act how we want. We can do whatever sign we want as well. As I said, once again, the only thing you cannot do is incite violence or defame someone. Other than that, we can do what we want. And this is what they're trying to stop, of course.
I think
Well, after that bag of Hanson sees me out, catch it. Sorry, Stephen. Stephen Knight, go check her bank account, mate. She's got millions in there. She's a Liberal. Always backed Liberal. She's done nothing for this country. She's a cow.
She handed the seat to Liberal Party up here in a by-election too through the...
and now Liberal, all the Liberal people are walking out of Liberal and going to One Nation. So really, Liberals just rebranding to One Nation. It's still the same bird, left wing, right wing.
Well, at least they've established that there is another wing to be had, because the Liberal Party was starting to jump onto that one-winged bird over the, communism. And it seems like they've realised that's not working for them.
Lydia can social burn Parliament. Oh, look, it's, Jason, this is the thing. It's this complete thing of double standard. I mean, you've got Dr. Valerie Pearce in court with probably up to 49 hearings to date on bail with a threat of 12 months jail. And yet Daniel Andrews and his husband, who did a hit and run, are still walking the bloody streets. WTF, and you've got concealed files from a massacre in Port Arthur where you've got 40 eyewitness statements that say that was not Martin Bryant. You've got the trucks that were there waiting, the refrigerated trucks at Port Arthur. Insane.
Yeah, it stinks. It stinks to high heaven. So anyway, I never got a chance to play. This is the video you were talking about, John Howard calling for firearms on the same day.
John Howard, who famously banned high-powered firearms in the wake of the Port Arthur massacre, has supported calls for tighter gun laws recommended by the Wieambilla Shooting Coronial Inquest. Queensland reporter Harry Clark reports.
One of the key recommendations to come from the inquest into the Wieambilla shooting was to impose mandatory mental health checks for firearms licensees.
I don't know about maybe you, but I look at this guy and he doesn't look like he slept in a while.
You know what they're doing? If you own a gun and you say anything negative about government, they're going to come and take your guns.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
It was too obvious to use Desi to do that, but he'll be part of the catalyst, no doubt. Now they've got a very convenient thing. And funny enough, I think this happened on the Sunday or something, and on the Friday I'd done a podcast and I've gone, isn't it convenient that whenever they want to do something, there's a terrorist, just pops up at the right time. And it's very fascinating that, that call was made just prior to the alleged incident.
I think it was
very
2 hours.
And we've got hours prior now where we
What's
can
John Howard's position currently? Who's he to be telling anyone?
Sitting on the public purse to the tune of about $1 million a year at the expense of the taxpayer, I believe.
He needs to be locked up. Every single one of them knows.
He's still allowed, travel expenses and all sorts of shit on top of his $1 million pension.
Look, it's got to stop. It has got to stop. We, the people, as the supreme authority of this nation, need to do a Commonwealth Commission. The people hold the commission. I did a post on it. Like the evidence that we have all collected over decades, and in particular over the last 5 years, if everyone collected all of that, you then sort it via subject matter, make sure you take plenty of copies so they can't get rid of it, and then you present it. This is the thing. If we had millions of Australians watching and lodging their complaints or their charges, if you had them all lodging it with the federal police and you got millions of people watching it, and at the same time you lodge matters into the court system with millions of people watching, we'd see some bloody changes, I tell you. They wouldn't dare. This is the thing. We got to watch what's going on in this country. I mean, Heids, you're doing amazing. How are you going with your court cases, love?
Oh, yeah, 4 to go, and then I'll win 17 out of 17. It's only taken 6 years, but never mind.
Doesn't matter.
Yes, I've lodged a writ of certiorari against the criminal, which is all said and done. It's over, but it's just a grain of contention for me that should never have happened. And then I've got the Legal Services Commission with a review in March, which they're going to have to actually prove that I actually broke the law, and the 1 year statute of limitations surpassed. So I don't know how they're going to do that. So he's wishing me a bright and prosperous, re-energizing new year and winning those cases. And I think if you win 17 of 17 cases, so far 13 of 17, either dropped or withdrawn or overturned or
Good on you, Heids. Holding them accountable.
Yeah, that's right. So and really, as the story's unraveling the other way, the police themselves can see that what has actually happened. And so I think the biggest thing Mark and I were talking about it the last time we were on is I think what really needs to happen with our judicial system, it has to not be about money.
Look, they've got to remain independent. I do believe that there are good people. There are not many in Parliament, but throughout our authorities, good police, emergency services, military, etc. So this is the thing. Providing we always conduct ourselves and operate the right way, peacefully and lawfully, using courts of competent jurisdiction, and I'll do competent jurisdiction like that. We are going about this the right way. We are not the criminals here. So that's the thing. We conduct ourselves honourably and in good conscience. And this is a truth evolution is what it is. The truth must come out, and we've just got to conduct ourselves correctly. It's not a revolution. It's got a negative connotation to it, and a revolution's going in circles. We're ascending. We are ascending, people. We've got to stand up in our power, do things the right way as adults, and demand, that there are charges, arrests, accountability, and punishment according to the crime. Everyone must be treated equally. So no concessions for them. If anything, because they're in positions, fiduciary positions, they need to get the absolute harshest of penalties, and there need to be measures put in place to prevent reoccurrence of these things. Very harsh penalties for anybody that does anything against the people of this country. Like, I don't know. We've got to fix it. It's up to us. No one's going to step in and save us. So we've just got to do this the right way.
And I think
I'll
one of the
say.
things people need to start to understand is how they're doing this too. And Darren actually sent me this video here from the Y Files, and you can find a link on Telegram if you want to watch this. It's 35 minutes, so we're not going to watch it right now. But the link is there. PSYOPs from dead babies to UFOs, the same pattern every time. And it shows you how the media and things basically put things together, and you can start to see if it's a psyop by the way things are shown. And one of those things that we've seen so many times, COVID was a perfect example, and it actually points it out in this video too, because both sides of the, is it a Wuhan leak or is it a natural fucking born virus, used the same tactic, which was a really interesting concept. I'll have to really try and sit down and think about it a little bit more. But the fact that both sides of that argument used exactly the same set of tactics and the same PSYOP formula was like, wow, that's very interesting to point out that it didn't matter whether it was the lab leak theory or the other. They were both using very emotional responses as the both very closed-minded sort of approaches, and it just ticked all the boxes for being a PSYOP on both sides. But again, the same narrative, especially, and we've all seen it, during the COVID thing, was 100 bloody reporters all saying exactly the same thing. And, here we are this time round. Again, we're seeing exactly the same kind of thing coming through the media. I think I've got one here of that where you see them basically pointing out the same thing over and over again. Yeah, here it is. Here's a bit of a scripting scenario here.
On the rise. Anti-Semitism is on the rise.
The rise in anti-Semitism in Australia. The rise in anti-Semitism in Australia. Anti-Semitism is on the rise. Anti-Semitism is on the rise.
The rise in anti-Semitism. The rise in anti-Semitism.
The rising levels of anti-Semitism. The rising of anti-Semitism.
A rise in anti-Semitic behaviour. A rise in anti-Semitic behaviour.
Anti-Semitism in Australia. Anti-Semitism in Australia.
The level of anti-Semitism in Australia. The level of anti-Semitism in Australia.
Anti-Semitism we're seeing in Australia. Anti-Semitism we're seeing in Australia.
Anti-Semitism is so
anti-Semitism.
in Australia.
Anti-Semitism, which is anti-Jewish racism, anti-Semitism, which is anti-Jewish racism, anti-Semitism.
This is pure anti-Semitism. This is pure.
There you go.
There is
Another
no
example.
anti-Semitism. They just made it up.
Again, I'm still trying to find it, but I did have. I've
Can anyone here go to school and go, I'm not talking to that kid at school because you're Jewish?
I don't recall ever having said that.
No. There was a Jewish, whether there was
I don't recall
Jewish
ever
kid
hearing
in my
that.
school or not. I wouldn't know.
That's right.
I wouldn't have a clue. I honestly have to say, I had to Google about 8 months ago what anti-Semitism actually meant, and I'm still not sure what it actually means.
Well,
Because
again,
that's
there's a bit of debate on that.
Well, if you're anti-Semitism, you're anti-something. So if you're supporting the Jews, does that make you Semitism? Pro-Semitism?
No, it doesn't ring as well, does it? I'm Semitic.
No.
I don't know. I know nothing about it.
I guess we just haven't heard the term enough for it to become natural.
It sounds like a disease.
The rabbit hole saying, I support the Jews, and, she's done a vigil on the beach, and I'm sure she means it from the bottom of her heart. Without a doubt, she's a lovely person. But the way she's pushing her Jewish beliefs now actually creates it the other way around.
Yeah.
So if you're Jewish and you're Muslim or you're this and that, people, Jacquie, unfortunately, are not going to hold hands and unite because they've been indoctrinated with that full faith. And I mean, I was thinking about this today while I was painting. Do birds go to church? Does everything else that God apparently, or whichever God created?
I have seen a bird or two in church. It was the highlight of my day at that point because I found it really boring going to church. So a bird flying in actually made it an entertaining session for a change. But that's just me showing off my heathen ways.
It really would be like if you're going to say Jewish and I'm going to try and be non-political.
We don't care that they are fabricating these situations, is what they're doing.
Jewish, let's say you got Jewish and you got Christians. Let's say we do live in a zoo. Let's say we went and we put a whole bunch of flamingos in with the lions in the cage at the zoo.
But you got two different species there. That's not a good analogy, Hides.
Well, no, it is, because are you a different
It depends. If you give the flamingos guns, it could even things out.
Yeah,
that's right. But it's how you are you a different species if you're mentally indoctrinated a certain way.
No, because if you've got an open mind, you can, and you've got the foresight to actually see through the bullshit and take things on board with an open mind. You can actually wake up to the truth.
But that's an open mind. But I'm talking about the indoctrination. So you've got people praying 3 times a day, 4 times a day. You walked up to them and say, mate, you need to open your mind. I don't know how it's going to go for you. I don't think it's going to go very well.
What?
You need to see how. If you walked up to a Muslim and said, I don't think your religion's quite what it should be. Can you open your mind?
No. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Everyone must respect each other's religion. You don't. You can certainly have discussions on things, but everyone must respect one another, their ideals, their opinions, their views, and this is what debate was all about. This is how we educate ourselves. And look, I remember I put a post up about flat Earth one day, and someone made a comment saying, "Why are you trying to divide people? Globists and flat earthers?" And I said, "What the hell are you talking about?" I said, "I love my globist friends just as much as I love my flat Earth friends. It's the same as I love my Muslim friends and my Buddhist friends just as much as I love my Christian or Jewish friends."
People travel all the time and they love seeing history. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about where people have been massacred, where there's wars, where there's hurt, where there's hatred, where there's a really core underlying thing. It's not just coming from a point, I like the flat earthers and I'm not trying to argue with you, Jacquie, but I can see where we have conflict every day. 1 in 4 people experience domestic violence, and that's within the same household. So if we're integrating all these people with different cultures, how do we get around that? Because someone that's indoctrinated that far is not going to have an open mind.
But listen, you don't.
I think, particularly with those kind of belief systems, and it's not particularly confined to religion. Belief systems are all over the place. I've had the same kind of arguments with people who love science so much because that's what they've filled that religious void with. They'll be, perhaps the kind of people who don't have a religion. So they've filled it with the science concept, and you can have exactly the same kind of structured debate with those kind of people about their belief systems too, because that science has now become that new belief system in that.
It's a religion. Absolutely.
It does become a religion in that way. And that's allowed this climate science to fill in another religious hole for some people. And they think that.
But there's no science behind the climate, Batty.
No, but the belief system that goes into it is where what I want to focus on.
Well, that's the indoctrination, because there's no science behind the climate change.
Our beliefs are that climate science is not real science, and that's pseudoscience. No, yours is pseudoscience, and you can see
it's
how
indoctrination
science become a religious belief in the same way. Yeah, so
it's indoctrination, absent facts in evidence.
There's no hope.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little bit Stockholm syndrome or cognitive dissonance as well, because it's how prisoners of war became friends with their captives. Because you see the good in all people. It's only when the conflict really arises and something like this that people go, no, that's not my view. That's why I tend to say, you're entitled to your beliefs. Don't, like you said before, Jack, just don't push them on me. All right, I'll hear you out.
Yeah, absolutely. I respect your beliefs. I respect your opinions, and we're just going to have to agree to disagree on certain things. It doesn't mean that we can't get on, and there's not, friendships cannot continue on. This is the thing, we are compassionate creatures. We've got hearts, and this is the thing.
Christmas time during COVID, are you going to invite your unvaccinated friends to Christmas? Right?
Yep.
But
that's you're going back into indoctrination now.
Yeah. Well, it is.
But that's
just
what all
seems,
this is. Everything
That's
we
right.
see is pushing an agenda and a point of view, and I mean, especially you look at what's happened here, and it's a horrible situation. Lots of people have died. A lot of people have been injured. These are real emotional elements, and when that emotion is entered is the first starting point, we're now in a very delicate situation. A lot of people are going to be very offended by what we've said already, just because.
Imagine if they indoctrinated the
state.
Australian community with the Constitution from early childhood like they used to. So by the time people left school, they knew what their rights were in the Constitution, but they've purposely not done that. So I think the people actually heard about the average individual heard about the Constitution was the yes and no vote. Other than that, and I still don't think people really understood what it meant. And I still don't. You ask most people, what's the Constitution? They don't know. Whereas Jacquie, you put it in this. So this is our, Darryl does as well. This is our ticket to freedom. But
it's a supreme law. It's a restraint on government, is what the Constitution is.
Cognitive. I've got to pay my tax. I've got to go to work. I've got to give 42 cents in the dollar. If not, this is going to happen to me. This is going to happen to me. I've got to.
That's statute legislation. Yeah, that's the government bastardising and ignoring the Constitution.
And then they make examples of a few people in between. The amount of money it costs to fight it. It's better off just pay it. It's not worth it. It's not worth the energy. Don't fight your car parking ticket. It's $220. You'll be in court for the next year. What's the point, right? So, I get it. Would I pay $220 or go to court if I didn't know what I was talking about? Would you get a lawyer to challenge it? No.
Look, I tell you, they've been studying mankind for millennia, and they know exactly how we're going to react to things, how to control us, and it's always been through fear, some sort of fear. So it doesn't matter what scripture or doctrine that you go into, when you really go deep into it, they've all been bastardized. Even the King James Bible, I've just been reading an amazing book with a dear friend of mine called The Gods in the Bible, and it's written by Mauro Biglino. Now, he was sourced by the Vatican to translate correctly lots and lots of ancient texts that they had in the vaults, etc. Now, he wrote a book after it, and the Vatican actually sent him a bullet, threatening to kill him for exposing it. The Old Testament is filled with nothing but the Elohim, Yahweh being one of the Elohim. It goes into the genetic engineering of the Adam, which is where mankind comes from, etc. But every single scripture has been bastardized and changed and altered throughout history. So you've got to look at, I guess, the basic principles of things. But, we've all got there's a certain amount of truth. But the teachings
let's bring it back to current now, because there's so many that we're never going to solve the argument of.
The
King James Bible in the current court right now, when you bring in witnesses to the court, put your right hand on the Bible. Do you swear on the Bible?
No, because that's cursing the All-Father when you swear on the Bible. So that's another trickery of the words. You're cursing the All-Father.
And I'm not religious. I've read it in the Bible. Matthew 5, chapter 5 says not to. And then, Darryl, do you want to put in all the other bits where it says woe to the lawyers, the liars? It says a lot of things in there. But the minute they get you to put your hand on it, because the King James Bible is the foundation of the court system.
But the mantra that government follow at the moment is divide and conquer.
Yep.
Isn't that what's taking place?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
You know, they divide us all through our religious beliefs, or you know, where we stand with respect to a particular social medium, and you know, they ridicule us, and the main mantra is divide and conquer. And once we wake up to that, then we're going to see through the illusion and look at those who are making those claims and who are saying, oh, you know, you're Hindu or you're Jewish or whatever belief system you have. We're all here on the same planet, breathing the same air. All have needs for our families. We all have needs to go to work. We all have these basic requirements to feed ourselves, to put a roof over our head. And we're being distracted by a bunch of people that really, in the definition of it, as they've been punching through to us over the past few years, those making us and expressing this mantra of divide and conquer are the true sovereign citizens under their own definition. They're defined plan. They're exercising discretionary powers. You know, the biggest problem we're having at the moment with respect to gun control is the commissioner of police in each state has a discretionary right to, if they believe that you may be not thinking correctly, they can come around and take your guns. And you got to go, well, hang on, who are you, mate? And this discretionary power you're exercising, that's on your belief. Well, who are you? And why are you passing this administrative judgment on people that, especially sports shooters, who treat it with respect, and yet they're being thrown under the bus because, oh, you know, I've got one chap up in Western Australia who defied a speeding ticket in court. So that was enough for the police commissioner to say, well, you're going to be branded a sovereign citizen and we're going to come around and take your guns.
Wow.
And yet, if we look at the people that were shooting all these people in Bondi the other day, one of them is a known terrorist and associated with terrorists around the world.
Had been under investigation for a good decade, I believe.
And yet they were allowed to possess guns. So where was the discretionary power of the commissioner of police? He had
How the fuck did they get a gun license?
Well, he's had a gun license apparently for many years. But the thing is, why wasn't the discretionary power of the commissioner exercised in this particular case? And they should have gone around there and just on the mere evidence of his son being involved with these known terrorist groups around the world, who really have shown quite clearly that they don't care about life and they don't care about liberty. They just want to express their political views through the sights of a gun. So we take the guns off them. The power's there, yet they didn't do it, which then we put then the question to the commissioner and say, why? Please explain why you didn't exercise your discretionary power to remove the guns from these people. Don't look at the rest of us. Don't throw us under the bus because we really regard our guns with respect. We may challenge a speeding fine, or we may say, hang on, government's not doing the right thing here or there. How is that associated with the terrorist groups and their absolute disdain for their neighbour? This is what needs to be looked into. And the more of us that ask those questions of our government, the quicker we can get on top of who was really behind this whole movement that's these false flag events, right back to
government. Hey, Darryl, look at the just before they brought in the anti-Semitic, you can't say anything, you can't have any anti-Semitic speech. Bullshit, you can't. And you can't wear Schwartz stickers, which are an extremely sacred and ancient symbol. And you can't do salutes, etc. I mean, who the fuck does that anyhow? Just prior to that, there were all of these bombings of the Jewish synagogues, which it all got uncovered and discovered that, no, it didn't really happen, or it was a setup. Yet they still proceeded to push the law through. That's gone quiet on that, of course.
Well, we've just had in Queensland Ian Levers. So Ian Levers was, just Googled it, he was the Queensland Cross-Border Commissioner and also long-time police union president. So there was a young boy that was shot by police in the main street of Early Beach, which is less than 2 kilometres long. And the parents have actually written a book, and he was actually on national news saying that this young boy lunged at police and he did all these things. Absolutely not true. I've seen the video, what have you. Now, he at 57 was, I'll read it to you. The 57-year-old was found at his home in Brisbane on Monday morning after police were called to a Mount Omni address at 9:50 a.m. The police said the death was not being treated as suspicious and investigations were ongoing. So we have the, head of the Union Border Control. We're talking about mental health. I don't know what happened. It's not suspicious. So what? He fell down the stairs on his own, committed suicide. Who knows? But if he committed suicide, that's mental health. So how can he be in a position to be making decisions whether someone else is of the opinion? Do you know what I mean?
Look, the entire health system has been weaponized. That's what's going on. They have weaponized the health system. Well, mental health, physical health, etc.
Yep.
And it's none of their business.
It's no good.
Well, what's hate speech? So what's hate speech? I think you've got some general emotions. You happy? Hate is a natural emotion. If you hate something, you really hate it. You don't like it. I don't see hate. Hate is a problem. It's when it borderlines into sinister, right? Sinister opinions or some sort of pathological, you're going to hurt somebody or you're going to do something to
leading to violence. If
I eat a sardine, for instance, and I'm going to go, I hate that. I cannot put that in my mouth. We've got to a point, you're not allowed to smell anymore. You're not allowed to say anything. You can't have, the 5 basic human emotions, being happy, being sad, being hateful, being angry. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to be sad. You're allowed to hate. You're allowed to love. They're all of those things. They're natural emotions.
Yeah. Look, I hate what this government has done to our nation. I hate everything about this corrupt, criminal government. And this is why we are standing up, providing that we, as I said, do everything peacefully and lawfully. I'm allowed to say I hate watching the desecration of our nation because of what this government is doing. And I've got a right to hate that. Bring it on, government. This is the thing. People have got to stop. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
But if being peaceful was actually the solution, or being grateful was actually the solution, he'd say that would be easy. But again, it's utopia that we're going to find that journey, because the government themselves don't. They get a bunch of young kids, send them to war, shoot each other and whatever. That's not being peaceful. That's not coming.
No, but that's not how we operate, Hides, is it? We are seeking remedy, how to get this country back. And when I say peacefully and lawfully, There is no violence. We are allowed to have our opinions. We are allowed to stand up, be forthright, and make our demands and take things through the correct authorities, the courts of competent jurisdiction. So peacefully is not, it means that there is no violence. It certainly doesn't mean that you're not able to speak your mind and speak with strength and conviction.
So let's go back to the gunman that took the gun off. Imagine if he walked up and he had a plank of wood, which would have been smarter, and bashed the guy over the bloody head, knocked him unconscious and killed him, and knocked the gun out.
He'd be in jail. He'd be in jail.
So to me, that's what he did. He went across peacefully and he did that. All he did was let him run off and get another gun and keep doing what he was doing. There's no hero there, in my eyes, right? None whatsoever.
Look, regardless of how it is, if all is, genuine, for somebody to go and even consider tackling someone with a gun, as I said, if Australians were armed, that wouldn't happen, because as soon as a gun was seen, you would have had 20 people just go and fucking put the gun down. It wouldn't have happened. This shit wouldn't happen if every Australian was armed.
Yeah, but yeah. But what
look
I'm
at
trying
Texas,
to say
look at Sweden, no crime. No crime. In these countries, because everyone is armed, no one would dare break into anyone's house. No one would dare go and burgle a shop. No one would dare, run through the street with a machete, because you'd have 50 people pointing a gun at you, go and put it down. Hold them down and get the police, get the authorities to come in and deal with it. This is the thing. We conduct ourselves, and that's peaceful. You're allowed to defend yourself. You can do that peacefully. And once again, you're allowed to use like force. But this is the thing. We've just got to conduct ourselves correctly.
But if I can finish what I was saying, that's all right. If the guy had hit, i.e., example, had a plank of wood, whacked him around the head, and actually killed the shooter, would he still be seen as a hero?
The government would have thrown him in jail. Just the same as if a burglar breaks into your house and you kill him, or if he's attacking your children and you kill him, you go to jail and the burglar walks free.
Yeah.
That's how this country works. It's in reverse.
Upside down and backwards.
Yep.
The point I'm making is I would say that he should have been seen as a hero, but isn't it funny that didn't happen? Because if you were to go and tackle somebody in a situation, okay, you might do it not thinking he's just very lucky if the truth is that happened, that he didn't die. Because it was actually, that's not a heroic move. That's actually a really stupid move because, anything could happen.
I think it is an heroic move. And it's too many people sit back and allow these situations. It's genuine, it's heroic.
It would seem that some members of the police were reluctant to go up near that situation. And let's face it, hey, there's a whole bunch of gunfire over there. Do you want to go?
Yeah, no.
Hand up, say I want to go in that general direction. Let's face it, standard survival skills is the first thing that goes through any living creature's mind, unless you've been, brainwashed in some other way to, perhaps go and partake in medical experimentation, for example. But, the survival of oneself is the most prominent thing in anything that lives, from single-celled organisms all the way to, I guess, humans in some cases.
But then that brings us to why these people were actually doing what they were doing.
Yeah.
And there's been a program with the CIA since the end of World War II called MK Ultra, where they tried and succeeded to create a situation where, with the right amount of pressure, psychological pressure on an individual, they could break them to the point where they do things like we witnessed at Bondi.
Yeah.
So we've got to look at all of these events since the 1950s, where people strap a bomb to themselves, or they take a gun or a car or whatever weapon they can to try and kill as many innocent people as possible. That's defying our inbuilt mechanism to protect not only ourselves, but we also have guardianship over our neighbours just instinctively. So they've tried and succeeded. This is the real question. Where these people been programmed? Who's programming them? And we've got to really dig deep to find out what's actually going on within the corridors of government. And therein lies, the next sort of step. And we need to, in order to get on top of what government's been up to and what influences government, we've got to look at how government actually is distracted from the constituent, and how they're distracted to the big corporations, the big energy suppliers around the world, and why we as a people suffer here in Australia with respect to our own resources, and how government is able to blindly follow whatever the corporate dollar dictates, and that's called lobbying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something that Albo's asking.
Bribery. Bribery is the other word for lobbying.
They want to make sure the lobbyist is burning apps and self-destructive messages, because Albo doesn't want what's actually happening behind the scenes to come out.
So when does a donation become a bribe? And this is the question we've got to ask. I thought they were just
two different words for the same thing.
So essentially,
I think they are, Batty.
In New South Wales, they've actually passed legislation in the state to prevent a certain amount of funds to go to a politician. And I think it's about time it becomes nationwide. So we then restrict the lobbying dollars down to individual parliamentarians as well as political parties, down to let's say $500. Okay, you put a low limit on the amount of money that can be donated, then it takes away the incentive, and you make sure that all of the bank accounts of all of the sitting members of parliament are transparent.
Yep, so and their families.
And their families, so we know all of their assets. So this is one of the obligations of becoming a voice or a representative for the people, is their accountability while they're in Parliament, and not to be not behind closed doors, but to be fully exposed as to every cent that comes in to their personal wealth. And this is how we keep an eye on them, and it's not hard. And we're looking really for people who are willing to stand up as plaintiffs in a high court case, with that aim in mind, specifically to bring about a restriction to the lobbying donations that come into our parliament and our governments at every level, state and federal, and more transparency. I think that's, if we can achieve that, we've really set up a barrier to the problems that we've been exposed to over the past 50, 60 years, probably even longer, when you look at it. And the robbing of our mineral wealth, our natural resource. We really need full transparency. I mean, who's now the biggest donator to One Nation? Well, it's Gina Reinhardt. Well, she's the richest woman in Australia.
More mining rights. What gives Palmer and Reinhardt the right to gather the wealth from what belongs to the people?
Well, this is where we look at Alaska, and everyone in Alaska gets a check every single year for their share in the oil that leaves the continent of Alaska. So
if they did that in Australia, nobody would go to work.
Well, it'd be we'd be that rich.
Well, we shouldn't have to.
our work ethics come with a need to fulfill a desire to create something or do something. And
well, hang on. People creating things with free will and the economic force behind every individual in Australia to do that. Holy shit, the government would have one hell of a problem on their hands, wouldn't they?
But you know what there'd be a lot more of? There'd be people setting up, self-sufficient, self-sustaining, properties, etc.
Yep.
Imagine that if you had the time to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Is that
I imagine it all the time, and the things that I come up with it's mind-boggling. But that's what I mean. The government would they'd have one hell of a problem, because all of a sudden their nanny state mentality is completely gone. We don't need them.
Well, this is the other thing. This is the importance of us standing up, because at the age of 18, this is where, as Keith says, this entire system, this corporate system, operates on assumption. So it's illusion and assumption. So when we turn 18, we have reached the age of majority. We are adults. So this country is not an infantile nation. We are adults. So we don't need the UN as trustee, and we need to stand up now as the beneficiaries and take over our trust. This is part of the problem. So you've got to let government know you've reached the age of majority when you're 18. Otherwise, they assume you're an infant. And this is part of the problem with us, with our trust.
I'm going to get off this topic because there's so many versions, as Darryl would know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Who this is. But unfortunately, having owned many businesses in my life, it doesn't work that way. And one of the said freedom fighters starts with a capital S. He was all about building new councils, and I just said straight away, I said, okay, there's 320,000 people in your region. How are you going to pick up their rubbish? So we're not going to go to work, okay? We're not going to go to work.
Contractors. Yeah, but everybody has a role. You can't sit back and do jack shit. You've got a role. Everyone has got their own special, thing that they can offer. Whether you're a gardener, a builder, a carpenter, a mechanic. This is the thing. Everyone. This is how communities, work together. Everyone has got something to offer.
Walk down the Main Street Mall in any city. This is a utopian dream that's going to start small, and eventually, hopefully, it's the new rich. It's going to grow, right? But ultimately, at the end of the day, there has to be structure.
Absolutely.
It's not the structure that we're complaining about. It is the overbearance of 42 cents in the dollar. It's the tax on the tax on the tax. It's the money being sent overseas. It's these things. It really does. The waste creations. There should not be a place that the average person shouldn't have a decent roof over their head, food on the table, and that should not be a question in 2025 at all, with the billions of dollars that there are. But this has been an age-old, what was a $25,000 beachfront property, the guy that was, only had the $5,000 house couldn't afford. It's all relative as it's changing. It's hitting a peak now. And Darryl, you were talking about LK Ultra before. When I studied psychology, there was one of my assignments was that they got people in a position where even family members were behind a partition, and they had to turn up electrodes on them, but that was all a joke. So they were, it was all, they stuck to them, and they were actually actors. So as they turned the dial up, they'd go, ah, and they'd scream louder. And as the authoritarians kept saying, well, it's a pay rise, we want to make sure that you're going to be good at your job, you're going to actually follow through no matter what. And they actually turned up the dial that much that they would have killed everyone in that room, but they were only acting. But they didn't know that they were acting. And that's where the LK Ultra comes in, and this, I want to please, I want to be good, I want to be authoritarian. They will go against every moral that they have. And that was an assignment that I had to, put in. Yeah, 100%. And that's what I'm talking about, indoctrination. So when people are indoctrinated to the point that, oh, yep, we've got to pay all my money, I'm going to go without, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I mean, we're talking about a utopian dream to get it, but I think to leave it for me on a Christmas note, I think we're all tired. We've all put in so much effort. We're all what did I call us? The Avengers. The other. Do you have that picture, Mark, that I sent the other night?
Yeah, hang on.
I haven't sent it. The Avengers. Darren was supposed to be on. We're doing the best we can, and we've got to keep that, what you're saying, Jacquie, that positive, there's a dent being made. We're not there. We've got a long way to go, but the dent's been made. People are standing.
Yeah, look, they're collapsing. It's all falling in on them at the moment. Everything's being exposed. And look, that's the important part of community. Like, I think it was up in Queensland with the floods, and like even down here in Victoria with the bushfires, government and authorities were nowhere to be seen. What happens? The community, the people get together and help each other. And that's what it's all about. And that example you just gave then, they do a similar thing where they will plant actors in a street, for example, and it may be a male, being physically abusive or assaulting a female, and everyone sort of just walks past. Now, this is, conditioning. But, if you've got I couldn't walk past something like that. I'd be in there. And this is the thing. We've all got to have empathy and sympathy for each other. This is what it's all about. The people connecting together, no matter what your race or your religion, your creed or your colour. We're all sisters and brothers. And we've just got to get out of this indoctrination system and stop believing all of these psyops they put in front of us. You've got to think, it was pretty early on in the COVID when everyone was waking up to what the fuck was going on. Something wasn't right. What do? Black Lives Matter. It's like, what the fuck? Black Lives Matter, white lives matter, yellow lives matter, green lives, furry lives. All life matters. What a load of bloody bullshit. And it's the same with this psyop that was set up down here in Victoria. Like, if you can't see through the shit that they're orchestrating, when there was a Muslim procession where it's been going on for 12 years. On this certain day, they walk through the streets and they stop at and show respect to, they were showing respect at the front, I think it was St. Paul's Cathedral in Melbourne. Well, everyone jumped on that. Oh, my God, it's the Muslims against, come on, Christians, we've got to stand up. It's like, what a load of bullshit.
Because there's the one with Darryl. There's the other one.
I didn't grab that one. Sorry. That was the most Avengers looking one. Give me a second. I'll get the other one up.
Yeah.
Look, I've been going down quite deep into the different scriptures. I'm really going to hit the Nag Hammadi soon, which is the actual accurate teachings of Jesus. It hasn't been bastardized or amended according to what King James wants, or whatever the Vatican, the bloody Roman Catholics, the Roman Empire is still operating. They're responsible for the majority of all the shit that's going down in the world. They're responsible for changing everything. Now, you can't win it with religion. I think that's the thing. We've all just got to respect each other's views. That's all there is to it.
My grandmother was an atheist, and she said, it's not because I don't believe in something is there. She said, I'm an atheist because religion has killed more people ever in the human race than anything else, and I won't participate in it.
But that's the thing, see, it's the indoctrination of those
from the religious if you go, no, it's always atheists. Hitler killed this many, and they'll pick out the individual leader. And I think, well, that's an interesting point of view. But who was pulling the trigger? Did you check the religious status of everybody involved in that war?
And who directed and told the people what they were fighting for? It's the same as our fathers sacrificing their lives, for us. They were actually being slaughtered in Gallipoli. Like, what people actually believe they are fighting for and what's actually going on are two totally different things. Two totally different things. Who are these characters?
We need to stop waiting and wishing for a single saviour that's going to come riding out on a white horse and clean all the mess up. I think that's 2/3 of the problem. Too many of us concentrate on this. Yeah. Oh, we're going to be saved one day. Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. I don't see that really happening.
No, it's up to us. 2,000 years of waiting. How much longer are we supposed to wait?
Too long. Yeah, don't hold your breath.
That's where the misinterpretation is as well. Jesus was trying to teach that God is, the All-Father is within us. That is the divine spark, our spirit, etc. So what they've done is they've indoctrinated people to be looking for a saviour. No, that's not how it is. The divine spark is within us.
I like the little dot video. The little dot video.
What's that?
Oh, that's gold. It says everything. It really does. It's an American guy, the little dot, and it really shows you where the power lies, but just through intimidation, this little dot rules the masses. It's gold. We used to run it at our seminars by
it's like a plane,
Larkin, Rose
Larkin. That's it, yeah. But it's like a plane crashing. If a plane's falling out of the sky, you imagine how many people going, oh, I love you, God, I love you, God. If there is a God, I'm sorry I didn't talk to you for that. It's a mechanical problem. It's going to save the fucking plane. We had an earthquake where my business was in a supermarket. And I said to this girl working for me, quick out, just like the money. I said, like the money, just get out. So that was serious. And I'm out. So she didn't come out. And I went back in. She's still on the ground. She's Filipino, praying like this. And I said, do you honestly think that was going to stop the earthquake? Next time you run outside. So this is religion. I mean, there's that many different, I don't even want to get into it. But
that's the basis of the religion, teaching people to look outside of themselves, where they've tried to remove our spirituality, our connection with nature. We are nature. Rubber-soled shoes, so there's not the electron transfer. The Rockefeller changing the frequencies of music. So we're not at the 432. We're in a chaotic one.
There's some basic truths in the Bible. One of those basic truths is
basic truths.
We have dominion over all of the creatures and over the earth. So we have this dominion because we got these opposing thumbs, and we've got this ability to create machines that can overturn, bring down a mountain essentially.
And we've got a book that says we can.
Yeah, and we got a book that says we can, but we can do it. We've proven that. We dig big, deep holes, and we do all sorts of things. We can change the course of water, and we can change the course of weather, and we can do.
But that's part of the problem, isn't it, Darryl? Is that we need to stop trying to change what is perfect, and nature is perfect. We are the only species that desecrates that which sustains us. Well, for the most intelligent species, we're the only species that pays to live, where everything is provided.
But we don't.
The fiat system is a slave system.
I mean, the law is in and of itself fascinating, because therein lies all of the answers to our problems, but the people are distracted from the law. And in the law, in Victoria, there is an act that allows the government to control the weather. And that's been there since 1967.
Yep.
And yet,
Rainmaking Control Act.
The Rainmaking Control Act, and Section 5 of that act gives the minister the ultimate say as far as whether the weather's going to be good or bad or whatever. So we've got to ask these questions and look deeper into what government does, because therein lies is we get control over, and in fact, the governments here in Australia are bound under the people. So we, the people, have been distracted for way too long from what they've been doing. And it's time for us to turn around and say, no, here's the legislation. It's not a conspiracy theory. There it is. Now, we need complete transparency and truth around what you've actually got to do, what you're able to do through this legislation. Don't hide it from us, and don't use it as a weapon against us, because this is why the governments were made accountable over hundreds and hundreds of years of common law, because you'll find most of the laws in our law libraries are there to keep government at bay and to allow the people to properly have dominion over their government. And this is what they're heavy. This is why the PSYOPs programs are very heavy against keeping the people, or maintaining that distance between government and the people. And this is what the legal profession's doing predominantly, to question government or to challenge government, you've got to go through the legal profession. I was shocked when you do a class action.
Well, you don't, Darryl. Look what we're doing. But I mean, this is the other thing. Yeah, the government under Section 51 can make laws for the peace, order and good government, not to persecute the people, rape and pillage the nation and alter the course of nature. So this is the other thing. We need to stand up and say, no, we do not consent to that. You cannot stop our movements. You cannot stop our freedom of speech. You cannot control what we listen to or what we do. If you act, as I said, violently, or if you commit a crime, sure, you've got the Crimes Act and you'll be dealt with that in that way. But, we've got dominion. We are the custodians and guardians of our earth. We need to be putting back twice as much as what we take. We need to be nurturing everything. That's our true role. Instead of raping and pillaging everything.
But we start by stopping the big money people from influencing our politicians. You do that through the lobbying. You do that by restricting the funds that go to Parliament. You do that by making all of their bank accounts transparent, and all of their assets transparent while they're sitting in government. Everything that they do, there should be cameras. There should be more cameras inside these government offices than there are out in our streets. We have been deliberately distracted. We've got to wake up and focus more. Forget the football, meat pies and Holden cars. We've got to really now look at what our government's capable of doing, what they're hiding from us under the heading of national security, and get on top of this. And this is why I was talking about the little dot, because the little dot really slaps you in the face. It slaps you in the face and it says, hang on, wake up, people. You're part of the largest the largest beast on this planet. And if all of us got together and just stood and resisted government, what are they going to do?
There's nothing they can do. That's like that little picture of all the people, the hundreds or thousands of people sitting underneath the table, and you've got the half a dozen or the 13, sitting around the table. The people stand up. That's it. They're gone. So that's the other thing, all of this bullshit with, the Online Safety Act and just everything they are trying to do. No hate speech. You can't move here. You can't say this. You can't do that. We just say, get fucked. Bring it on. We are not accepting that. We've got to flip it back. They are our servants, agents and administrators, and we are the power. It's time we've got to stand up and take it back.
Yeah, the legal profession are part of that problem, and we have to pull.
Damn straight they are.
You know, $10 million to do a class action in the federal court. That's what the legal profession promote. Yeah,
they've all sworn their oath to the state. No legal profession is going to go against the state or the Commonwealth. They'll lose their job.
They stop us through the monetary access. It's using money against we the people.
As a deterrent.
We also need to build a bridge over that whole concept of money. You know,
Section 31 of the Human Rights 2019, I think. Doesn't that clearly say that you're entitled to a fair trial? And if money's got something to do with it, doesn't that
so does statute and legislation. Human rights is a UN invention too.
Yeah, and we've got freedom of access to our courts. Yeah,
free access.
As a human, the monster.
Yeah. So we've got all the tools we need in our toolbox. All we got to do is get enough people behind this to be that force that the system is so scared of, because they are genuinely scared of us. And they're very quick to put a label on us to try and deter others from following the path that we take. And this is why they're so desperately they pull off these psyops all the time to keep us at bay. Because when we wake up, finally, we're getting there. Look out. I wouldn't want to be in the role of government. You know, they're getting very nervous. I know they are. And they don't like these sort of words coming out to the general public. But, you know, we're lucky that we've got this platform to put these words out and start waking people up to what sort of direction that we need to follow in order to get back our power, because we've been suppressed for too long.
It's about exposure, isn't it? It's exposing it, Darryl. I think that's the thing, to use the system to expose the system.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Should we put this dot video up that Darryl referred to, since I got it all queued up, to give people a little bit of perspective and sort of maybe get us all on the same page for a moment? Plus, I got to have a pee.
Yep.
Once upon a time, there were 100 million people. They had different interests, different beliefs, different occupations, but for the most part, they got along pretty well. Then one day, a gang of a few hundred people showed up. Need to zoom in some more to see them. I know they're there somewhere. Zoom in. There they are. And this gang of a few hundred said to the throng of 100 million, "From now on, you all have to give us a cut of everything you earn."
This is an accurate graphical comparison between the number of American taxpayers and the number of U.S. congressmen.
And the throng said, "Gosh, do we have to give you a cut of what we earn?" And the gang of a few hundred said, "Yes, you have to." And the throng said, "Well, okay, I guess we have to." And one little troublemaker asked, "What if we don't?" The gang of a few hundred didn't like this and said, "If you do not comply, we shall unleash upon you our legions of enforcers." And the throng cried, "Oh no, please don't. We will comply, we will pay."
This is an accurate graphical comparison between the number of American taxpayers and the total number of IRS employees.
Time went by and the gang of a few hundred said, "Now we want more of what you earn." And this kept happening over and over again, until eventually some of the throng were paying almost half of what they earned to the gang. Whenever the gang demanded more, the throng would say, "Golly, we're already having a tough time. Do we really need to give you even more?" And the gang always said, yes, you must, or we shall unleash our legion of enforcers. Now the gang of a few hundred was getting trillions of dollars every year, spending it on wars and pyramid schemes, giving away goodies to their friends, buying influence, and doing lots of other things. And some of the throng started saying, we don't really like the war you're waging with the money we give you. Do we really have to be paying for that? And the gang said, yes, we demand it. Don't make us send out our legion of enforcers. And some of the throng said, you're taking our money and giving it to huge corporations and giant banks, and some people who just don't want to work. A lot of these things we don't like. And the gang said, we don't care. We will decide how to spend it. You just do as you're told, or else. And the throng said, okay, I guess we have to. But eventually the throng got so fed up, so angry, that they took a drastic step. One day they said to the gang, we don't like what you're doing. We want a new gang. And after pouring a huge amount of time and money into the effort, they replaced the gang with a new gang. Then the throng pleaded with the new gang, now at long last can we keep our own money, or at least keep more of it? And the new gang said, sorry, but after much discussion, we've decided that you can't. You have to keep giving us what you've been giving, in fact, a little bit more than before. The throng was distraught and said, this is dreadful. But after all, what choice do we have? I mean, they say we must comply, and they have that scary legion of enforcers. We're powerless against them. We'd better just do as we're told. So they did as they were told, got poorer and poorer, and lived miserably ever after. But after all, what else could they have done? What power could this throng possibly have compared to this gang of a few hundred and their enforcers? What chance would this thing have against this thing? How could these 100 million people ever hope to successfully resist the awesome power of this tiny little dot? In case anyone missed this, let's review. Here's them. Here are their enforcers. Here's us. Them, us. Them, us. Does anything about this seem just a little strange to you? Are you perhaps wondering, why does the throng need the permission of the dot to do anything? Why do these people feel the need to ask this tiny little dot if they can keep more of what they earn? Why would they spend year after year literally begging for lower taxes from this little dot? Is this dot just really darn intimidating? Is it very persuasive in its reasoning? To be blunt, why would this throng give a rodent's backside what this tiny little dot wanted? The fact that this tiny dot has the gall to issue such demands to such a throng is pretty startling in and of itself. But what is far more amazing is that the throng obeys this minuscule little parasitic gang of control freaks. What could possibly explain this? Let's ask the dot. This is how it works. When we, the dot, take your money and spend it on things you don't like, we're representing you. In fact, though you're not allowed to actually keep your own money, you're allowed to decide which little dot will steal half of what you earn. So that really means that you're in charge and that you're agreeing to give us your money. In fact, we, the dot, are serving you when we take your money and spend it on things you don't like. And so you should thank us and treat us with great respect and honor for having robbed you on your behalf for your own good in order to serve you by doing things you don't want us to do. So there you have it. I hope that cleared everything up for you.
Oh, there it is. So, yeah, I think Darryl was on the money there. That certainly sums it all up.
Mate, there
So
it is.
I guess that begs the biggest question I have when it comes to these sort of, I guess, terrorist attacks is, why don't they turn the guns on the little dot? Why do they keep trying to take out the big army? That doesn't seem like a very logical course of action. You know, taking out 15 civilians doesn't seem to really
100%.
do much when, you know, you're literally shooting into the water trying to kill the ocean. Wouldn't you be better off taking it towards the little dot? I'm not encouraging violence by any means, not, you know, and in any way, shape, or form. I'm just like going through this logically thinking, well, if I was a lunatic and I thought the only way to solve this problem was with a bullet, I'd want to make sure that bullet went to the right place.
To create fear. Yep.
Yeah.
Not the
That's
innocent.
what I'm saying.
And
But
like
that's
I've been saying since the 9/11 thing and all the rest, I'll have a little bit more faith in the demands of these terrorists when they start pointing their guns at politicians.
Yep.
Might even get some sympathy from the populace.
But this is what Darryl's saying about LK Ultra. You just turn around and you say, so literally now on the news, the said hero, everyone's view is different, said hero who ran up, put his arms over, didn't have much of a tackle, didn't look too hard. It's now got $2.5 million in crowdfunding. I wonder how many people are going to be doing it next time and then they get shot, right? It's all part of the same thing.
It's like Running Man climbing for dollars.
Yeah, he went in there. He didn't think I can't call him a hero because that was acting spontaneously for a split second, but he was conscious enough to put his hand up and let people know, oh, I'm not one of the gunmen, so he could see people watching. Like, wasn't me. I'm not shooting because I got a gun in my hand now and I'm wearing the same color clothes. Funny that, black and white. Just the opposite way around, and then casually puts it because it just happens to be a tree there for him to put it on. And then the guy stumbles back. I had more of a collision with the police in my own house. Right?
Look, the other thing was,
and you were charged with just being there in the end, wasn't it? Like they had to take the spitting at you.
To the bridge when he did it, but he could go, and there just happened to be a gun lying on the ground. Like,
oh, look, the whole thing's it's definitely a psyop. We know that, but this is the bottom line. So what do? What do we do? We've got to make them accountable. We need arrests and charges laid. The only way we can do this is the remedy is to go through as best with, other than everybody uniting, standing up and not consenting and not complying en masse, to take these matters through the courts of competent jurisdiction. And the other thing, as you know, Batty, I've joined Commonwealth Custodians, and I think as the prophecies say, the people will rise. This is an IQ test and a tolerance test, and they're pushing us to our limits. Government will fall. We need to be organised and have our structure in place. And the supreme written law of this land does not need to be changed or altered. We don't know. I did see a comment there earlier. We need the First and Second Amendment like America. No, we do not. Our Constitution is one of the most powerful documents in the world. It is better than the American Constitution. The point of it is that the government has a blatant and utter disdain for it. They are not adhering to the supreme law. They are in breach of it and creating acts, etc., that are repugnant to it. So we need to go to commonwealthcustodians.org. Have a look at all their stuff, the work that Keith has done. This is about us. We are not Australian citizens. There is actually no head of power for the National Australian Citizenship Act to even been created. We are Commonwealth nationals. We are not creatures of servitude. We're not citizens. We're Commonwealth nationals. And this is the thing. We structure our government according to the Constitution. This is up to the people. We need to do, it's a claim of right. It's a reclamation. We're the beneficiaries and we need to take back our trust and get our matters in order. So that's the thing. We can do this under the Constitution. We just need people to step up, people with integrity, to put whatever skills you've got to go into the different, put your hand up for the different levels of, or different departments that need to be run in government according to the Constitution. And always keep in mind the Constitution is organic. So it can ebb and flow with us, and we, the people, are the bottom, have the end say on what can be altered, amended, repealed or added into the Constitution. So it's up to us. There's no saviour.
All we need to do at the moment relating to the events at Bondi the other day is question the Commissioner of the New South Wales Police as to why they didn't remove the guns from those two assailants when they had the opportunity. Yes, they were licensed. We need to focus on that, and this is where we see the weakness within the system. If the system cannot provide us with the answers as to why, then they have failed in their duty of care under their legislation. And this will cause, if enough of us ask those basic questions of the Commissioner, it's not just one or two, but the more people, the better, to ask that basic question. Watch this whole thing go away, and the whole anti-Semitic thing, because that's the psyop, that's the distraction. We focus back on what the role of that Commissioner is and why these people were doing what they were doing. Look at that and that alone. Don't restrict our access, the general public's access to
what's real and what's not real, what's part of it, what's not part of it.
That's right.
Jared Rennick made a good point, basically saying the same thing. Let's have a listen to what he had to say.
Guys, Jared Rennick, People First Party. Australia does not have a problem with its gun laws. Australia has a problem with our immigration laws, and in particular the failure of our intelligence agencies to actually do their job and monitor real threats to our society. Now, it beggars belief that one of the shooters on Sunday afternoon was actually was identified as being closely aligned with ISIS back in 2019. Serious questions need to be asked of our intelligence agencies and how they failed to actually detect the risk that this person posed to the community. Questions also need to be asked about how the father of the other shooter was allowed to even have a gun licence, given that he wasn't a permanent resident of Australia. It beggars belief that if someone can't become a permanent citizen in this country, that they are even given a gun licence. But what's worse is the failure of the political class to actually distract from what happened on Sunday afternoon and try and make it about gun laws when the real issue is immigration without assimilation. Now, I've got no problem with immigrants coming to this country in sustainable numbers, which is less than 100,000, as I've said before. This is the policy of People First. But it is incredibly important that when people do come to this country that they assimilate. And it is incredibly important that politicians recognise that people who come to this country and don't assimilate don't belong here.
Yep, I think he summed that up pretty well. And just to add a little bit of weight to the idea of, what assimilation, I guess, perhaps doesn't look like. Here we have, what seems to be some sort of a, tourist getting around, making some videos through New South Wales.
Lakemba in Sydney, Australia, and it's supposed to be a very high Muslim population area. As soon as we arrived in Lakemba, things were tense. There were heads turning, people coming out of shops to look at us and find out what we were doing. Men started yelling in Arabic across the street at us. As we went to go for a walk to the local mosque, a very high-ranked police officer came up to me and begged with me, do not go there. Speaking.
Inspector Rick Ages from KMC Police.
Yep.
I've been informed that you're intending to attending the Lakemba Mosque, is that correct?
I actually have no intentions of attending. I was just planning on walking through the streets and seeing how the culture was here.
Yes?
Yep.
Are you satisfied with that?
Yep.
So where do you intend on walking to now?
I was just going to walk out and check how the mosque was.
Check where the mosque was?
Yep. Would I not be allowed to attend if I wanted to?
I've got grave concerns that you may cause an imminent breach of the peace down there, so I'm asking you not to attend.
Why would I cause a breach of the peace?
Because it's highly religious down there.
So would it be me causing a breach of the peace, or would it be the people there?
Well, your presence may cause them to be, be offensive and be objective to your attending there.
Now that's a real issue right there. A tourist from another country can't walk through Australia because their mere presence might be considered offensive to the population there. Whoa. I'm assuming that the same thing would happen to anyone who is actually a citizen. I mean, what would happen if an Aboriginal man or woman were to walk through there? Would that be the same scenario? Like, wow. It's pretty
that's an old video.
Yeah, it's an old video, but it's still very relevant.
I was disgusted when I saw that. They're facilitating it.
So I've been to 52 different countries, and every country is different. They have their own culture, they have their own religion, they have their own what have you. If you work, let's just pick someone close to home. If you walked in a bikini in Lombok, say to renew your passport, just extend for a couple of days, week, whatever, and you have to go to immigration to get a stamp on your passport. You walked in there in a bikini, you would be arrested. End of story. Finish. Finito. First time I went there, I had 3/4 pants on and a long sleeve shirt, but I didn't have the wrap around, and you could see my ankles. I didn't do it the second time. I went back fully clothed because you just wouldn't do it. Right? I wasn't even served at the bank because of what I was wearing. Because once you get out of the tourist hub and you're into next to the big mosque, you can't do that, right? So I don't understand. We don't have, I think where Australia's lost is we don't actually have a culture. You know, we don't pray 3 times a day. We don't put our things out to the gods in the morning, as in go to Bali. Every Balinese has their little temple outside. They give their gods things. They go, their ceremonies. We don't have that. The problem is when you have immigration with so many cultural beliefs, they're never going to align. Never.
Look, I disagree. I do disagree with that. The thing is, everyone has got to respect one another. And when you are in another country, you respect their culture, their laws, etc. But the same's got to be done here. So that is the fault, once again, of government facilitating something and creating a situation. That's the problem there. So look, we've got Darryl, let's pump it out there. We need plaintiffs. We've got cases written to stop the mass immigration. We've got cases written to stop against the lobbying. We've got cases written about the gun laws, online safety. Darryl, what else? We need plaintiffs. We need Australians who can stand up, who've got the intellect to present a case that they'll be taught, and it is all on the basis of High Court case law and the rule of law. So if there's anybody out there who wants to help save our country and start by removing these bricks in the wall that are causing us these issues, these laws the government have created that are creating these situations, laws they've created to facilitate the agenda that are unconstitutional and repugnant to the Constitution. We need all Australians on board watching these cases, and we'll put the cases out for the people to read through so they can see the basic arguments, which are very easy to get your head around. So anyone who is willing to put their hand up, please email Darryl at info@knowyourrightsgroup.com.au. And I'll get Batty. We've also got an account. Thank you so much, Batty. We've also got an account. We need funding to ensure, so you've got all the filing fees, But as we've mentioned, they are using costs as a deterrent for people to continue on up and appeal matters. We need all Australians watching what is going on in the courtrooms, and we need funding. Donations, please, which is to the CLRA account, which Darryl and Darren have. They've allowed us to, offered for us to use that, because some of the give send goes can be a little bit dubious. So that is to protect people and to cover the costs. I mean, we've like you, Hides, you, Batty, we'll donate our time. We've dedicated our lives to this. So we're not going to do a Monica Schmidt and take $1,000 a week out to support ourselves. Bloody that woman, I tell you. What that head butter. Oh, shit, I didn't mean that. That was violent. I'd like to, but I wouldn't think about it. I just eyeball her.
Yeah.
Anyhow. So everything's transparent with us.
We've got a lot of other things I think people should be looking at too. You know, I mean, there's two sides to the argument, and obviously the radical Islam is a big part of this, and this is a wonderful book. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend you do. You will understand a little bit more about the mentality of the people you're dealing with and the dangerous elements within our society that allow it to grow, such as heavily left-biased universities, for example, which become breeding grounds for these kinds of people, and it's well outlined in this book. This book is very good. I highly recommend it. It's one of those things, like most heroes' journeys, he tries to make out that he is the victim throughout this scenario. And I guess as an attempt at some form of compassion, personally, I struggled to have compassion for the reader as he suddenly realized the error of his ways by seeing the same kind of thing done to himself and his friends. So it was a very
hold on a minute, Batty. There is another form of the Quran that a lot of which is an extremist view. So I personally, I would not be recommending that book until my Muslim sisters have read it and given me their opinion, because they are peaceful and they assimilate.
As I enjoyed the book and I thought it really gave a good interpretation, and it does at one point in this book, particularly towards the end, where it says, hang on, it's not really Islam isn't really the religion of hate, and it's a certain element within it that are pushing the terrorist agenda, that are twisting and turning elements of that into the who are creating making a hatred thing out of it. Because by no means am I saying, hey, because it's Islam they should be vilified or whatever. God, no. This is the journey out of Islamist extremism is written right here.
You've got extremist Christians as well, extremist Zionists, etc.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the element we want to talk about. But how these extremist Islam people, and I want to emphasize and clarify that because perhaps I didn't make that clear earlier. Sorry. This is a great book in that. But like I said, when you see what old mate and his friends were doing, it's hard to feel sorry for him when he gets his just desserts.
Hey, you know a good movie to watch?
Enough for you to want to read the book to find out what that means.
I would give that to as I said, I would get my Muslim sisters to read that and give me their opinion on it. Hey, Batty, you've seen Zeitgeist?
Everyone in the audience to read it and give me their opinion. I want to know what you think of it. I've given you my thoughts.
I don't know the Quran, so I can't speak, to see, that's not my religion. So I can't read that book and know if that is what my true teachings are about. That's why I would ask my Muslim sisters to read that book, because they know their religion, to say, yeah, that's right or that's wrong. I recommend people go and watch Zeitgeist.
I read 4 books a week. Darryl knows this. At least 4 books a week, right? And I'll read anything about everything. And you'll find a book that has that, and then you'll have another book that tells you the opposite, and then it's just like religion. Someone's story.
You've got to get to the truth. You've got to get to the truth.
You can't get to the truth because you're already saying, I've got to talk to
You can get to the truth, Heidi. You can get to the truth, and the truth is coming out.
Whose truth?
The truth. It's not whose truth. There is only one truth. That's the thing. There is.
What if there was? Okay, throw it at you. What if there was actually no religion?
Religion has been designed to control people.
I'm not asking. I'm just saying. What if there wasn't?
There was no religion.
What if there wasn't what? Religion's been designed to control people. Religion is a control mechanism. That's what I said earlier. All of the scriptures have been written to control people and segregate them and instill fear in them. That is the purpose. It has totally lost what it was. It was all about spirituality and the soul, the divine spark within. That's what it's about. Learning our spirituality. It's not about turning each other on each other. That's not true. That's the indoctrinated religion, the lies that they use to divide us.
And me would turn around and say, well, why did you say you have to get your Muslim sisters to read that because you don't know the Quran? Because the question was, what if religion
Because the book's on Islam. The book's on Islam, and there are different versions.
This guy's journey, Majid, I think his name. I'm probably going to say it wrong, but Majid Nawaz. I nearly put a V in there because I've been looking at so much German words lately. But and it says my journey out of Islamic extremism. It is his story.
Yeah, his story.
It's his story about his journey out of Islamic extremism. And I don't think you really need to read the Quran. If you feel the need to, by all means. But I like the audio version of this. This is a free version you can get off an Internet Archive. I just recommend people have a look at it for perspective, point of view, and it's this man's point of view.
Yeah. It's the same as the cults, all these cults that have occurred over the decades. Where people have all committed suicide or, this is the thing. You get these belief structures that are used to control and instill fear. And all of the scriptures have been altered and amended, basically to control the people. So it's all about, we're all equal. We're all made from the same dirt, We're brothers and sisters. So you've got your ideologies and your beliefs and what have you. It does not mean that we cannot get on. And anybody who is extremist or violent, wishes to cause harm to others, well, obviously you are not a good person. So, and there's the Crimes Act to deal with people like that.
There has to be a different way, and I don't know what it is. So I haven't quite solved that one. I probably never will, but you talk about different, you'd say bloodlines, you have an RH negative. A lot of people spiritually go down, whether you're a bloodline of RH negative blood type, which is from Atlantis, it's not from heaven. So many people have different types of belief systems as to what that might be. And it's kind of like if you had your children fighting over a toy and they couldn't agree, or you take the toy away.
or you do the old pound of flesh thing.
There has to be a simple solution to this.
Or we cut the baby in half. We've got plenty of stories of these things in our past. Hey, it wasn't my story. I didn't come up with the idea of cutting babies in half. The judge,
and that's the Bible, and the true mother stepped forward.
It's the whole thing. It's all good fun until someone loses an eye. Do you know what I mean?
Look, it's all about will and intent. Will and intent.
Yeah, you say that to someone whose daughter's been gang raped, and
what do you mean?
He's not allowed to be angry. He's not allowed to be angry. He's not about to have revenge. He doesn't want to. There's so much.
How did that come into it, Heidi? How did that come into it?
Well, what I'm saying
why that analogy? Why would you give that analogy of somebody being harmed? Hey? What's that analogy a reflection of that we've just been speaking about?
Well, it depends which conversation we've been having. You go, Darryl. Yeah, go.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to look at, say, for instance, the Talmud. Right now, the Talmud is what the Judea religion is based around, and there's some really crazy things that they have in that religious document, which has brought about a state of mind within those that follow that particular doctrine, that they are supreme over everybody else, and they actively promote this amongst their own, and it's sick. This is where we need to put these sort of beliefs through a filter to work out what it is that's actually where there's equity. Where there is equity, there isn't in the Talmud. That's very clear. You've got peaceful religions like the Buddhists, who would rather sit under a tree and just go, kumbaya all day. Well, that's fine. That's your thing, but they're not hurting any other creature. They respect every other creature. So you've got to sort of take these religious beliefs and filter it and see what really comes out at the end of the day.
Absolutely. It's about will and intent, and if any religion or indoctrination pertains to causing harm to anything, or abusing or pillaging or violating anyone or anything, that's pure evil, and it needs to be dealt with. That's not acceptable.
Yeah, but we're all capable of
will and intent. Stay pure and stay true.
But if you raise somebody in a doctrine that segregates them from everybody else and puts them above everybody else, therein lies a problem. And that particular group at the moment have an enormous amount of power around the world, and we've got to say no. We've got to say this is what is the definition then of terrorism, and what is a religion. We've got to define what a religion really is, and what fits into that category. And we're being distracted from these basic questions, and in the meantime we suffer. So we've got to look very carefully at the Talmud and say, no, this is not a good thing. Look at what Israel has done since they were brought into Palestine through the 1930s and 40s. And look at what it's become at the moment, and it's shocking when you look at what's taking place, where they were, the Palestinians or the people in that part of the world were essentially opening their doors to these people who were coming over from Europe and letting them stay there. And then the hosts were being locked out of their own houses. And this has been the mantra of that group in that area since 1948. And that's shocking. We can only sit back here in Australia and read about it or hear about it or watch it on a documentary and go, wow, that's pretty shocking. But those people, and what we've seen is the worst of that and what's been happening in the Gaza Strip, and this attitude of, because you have a particular religious belief, then you are not worthy. You have to be treated like cattle. It's like, wow, this is quite bizarre that here we are in 2025 allowing that sort of
and our government's funding it, Darryl. Our government is donating our money, hundreds of millions, and providing the military hardware.
And we've got to stop this by saying enough is enough.
Cut ties with Israel.
This is part of the lobbying case that we want to bring about, because This is how you stop those particular people who have enormous amounts of money at their fingertips to be able to influence governments around the world. We only have to look at the Trump campaign and how he was assisting in that genocide and attacks on neighbors in Iran and the like. And we've got to say, hang on, just for the money, one of his donors from that particular fraternity donated $250 million to the Trump campaign. Well, there is a president that's been totally and absolutely compromised through the lobbying.
I just finished a book called Donald Trump, The Six Temples and the Rabbis. That's an interesting book. So we're surmising on so much that we don't know. We really are. What if? How come? What if? Why do you say that? Whose religion? What religion? And I think we've gone way off topic, but probably quite pertinent to Christmas. But I think we need to keep just doing the little things, you know, and try and.
Speaking of little things, how many wear the little hat? Donald Trump, Albanese, and look, half of our politicians are wearing the little hat.
Yeah.
Not saying that there's anything matter with the Jews because it's Zionist. I mean, that's the other thing. This is, you know, like you said, the Talmud. There's what's the other one? The Torah and the Talmud. So, like, there's good and
the Torah is the Old Testament.
That's the five original books.
That's the original Old Testament, but the Talmud is the Judean doctrine. But what we're trying to focus on is the lobbying powers. You take away that donor of $250 million in the Trump campaign, and you take away the influence that money from that one particular country has on other countries, and you stop a lot of the misbehavior that we're now witnessing. And we have to fix it and use the same analogy to stop this sort of influence here in this country.
I would call that picture Semitism, with anti-Semitism counteracted Semitism. If they're all going there to show their respects, like you would if you went to a country and you put on a thing around your head and show your ankles, whatever it might be, but that is it respect, or they're like, oh, you pay us and you're donating to us and you're this. So I say it's not even about religion. I say the whole thing.
I've got an interesting question on that note, but you go ahead. Sorry, Heidi. I just want to preserve a position there.
Another corporation, as far as I'm concerned, another set of rule books. The Bible might have been legislation in one country, legislation in a different country, legislation in a different country. Whether it really happened, I've never seen it. I can only say what I read and see. I wasn't there. You know, do we have 28 days? Do we have 30 days? Is the moon flat? Is it round? I don't know. I haven't seen it. I can't say. So I sit back on all of this, but I see, you know, just after COVID, I went to Bali for 3 months. I asked the lady giving me a $5 massage. Where does your money go? Where does your money go when you go to prayer every morning? So they're on next to nothing. They donate money every morning to their church. They pray.
Like the Catholics. Like the Catholics hide.
Well, it's different. It's more of a peaceful religion, but they still offer their offerings.
Regardless, they're paying. Yeah, the Catholics are a violent one. One of the most violent ones. Catholics are responsible, or the Roman Empire, the Vatican are responsible
Holy
for.
Roman Empire, as we discovered the other day.
Holy Roman Empire, responsible for millions of deaths as they convert people via torture.
You sure it wasn't? Are you sure it didn't stem from Egypt there, Jacquie, when she went all of Cleopatra, you know, went across and had sex with Julius Caesar and had some twins? Do you think it might have been in the the Red Sea of Africa where it actually started. So it depends how far back in history you go and to what knowledge you have on the world.
Go back to the Gnosticism, Sophia, Demiurge, etc., and then start building it there. Old Testament's based on the Elohim.
I
All the
can't help
many gods.
we are vastly denied a great deal of the history because we keep being told it's 6,000 years, but it seems the flood was more like 11,000 years. We're missing half the story, it would seem, between the last flood and the alleged emergence of civilization.
Yeah.
Apparently,
Hey, you gotta
Egypt
watch
built those pyramids, 3,500 BC or whatnot.
Yeah,
and it was
no.
built by the slavery of Jews.
All a lie.
It
It's
doesn't
all a
make
lie.
sense.
No. It's
Well,
a lie.
the winners of wars get to write the history.
Yes.
And I think
Well
some
said.
people have just been really good at manipulating and fucking with it for a bloody long time too, because nothing
Well, my
adds
father
up.
in 1942 was put. The Nazi army walked into the farm, which was then Poland, and they told my grandmother and grandfather and the 5 children to get on a train to safety, and they had half an hour to collect what they could, and they ended up on a cattle cart, not a train, heading straight towards Auschwitz. And my grandfather, they all had to have a TB injection to get their papers to get on the cattle cart to go to safety, and my grandfather had abhorrent dysentery to the point that no one could, the guards, and they kicked the entire family to the curb. Lucky for them, they survived because no one else on that train potentially did, and that is the truth. So they were Polish, which is no longer Poland, it's now West Germany, and they were Christians. They were labelled as Jews, and they then built a new life. And there was another daughter, and she ended up dying. But the 5 brothers survived to this day, or till the day, to tell the story. So it is true. I've heard it from my father's own mouth, and he was not.
Of course, it's true. But the actual rendition, the actual series of events that occurred, a lot of it's fabricated. There were not 6 million Jews in Europe for 6 million to have been killed. This is the other thing. I mean, even Darren's been over. Ask him about Auschwitz. Those gas chambers weren't even hooked up in Auschwitz. There's a lot of different documentaries on that. But this is the main point of it is that people all went to war. And there were hundreds of thousands of people that were slaughtered, innocent people caught up in this mishmash of, every war in history has been political or religious, and nobody really knows what the fuck they're fighting for.
Right.
Killing in the name of fill in the blank.
They're lied to.
What would you like to die for today, sir? Here, just fill in the blank.
Yeah, so let's just pick the probably most recent. What's your view on the Cold War, Jacquie?
On the Cold War, I don't know enough about it.
Well, it's the most recent of, we're talking 1942, so Darryl, you go.
It's a deal that was done essentially after World War II between the Russians and the Americans and the English, which didn't culminate until about 1989 when Reagan and Gorbachev basically severed the old USSR, and then we saw the change in Berlin, and the capitalist, I suppose, doctrine override Russia, and they wanted to do business. And we've got NATO, who was the agreement between Gorbachev and Reagan was to dismantle NATO, because NATO was set up essentially to be that Western force against the communist empire of the USSR. And of course, that's still there, and you've got to say why.
No,
That's
it's all a part of the agenda, isn't it?
Well, at the end of the day, we've got this tired, unnecessary NATO that should have been dismantled. It has no longer any purpose. But how many people are making a shitload of money out of NATO who don't really need to? And do they want to let go of their jobs and positions?
NATO pushing themselves closer to Russia from Ukraine, causing all that, creating issues. I don't know what's my opinion on the whole thing's a bloody staged setup.
Is it like everything? A bunch of greedy bastards who just don't want to let go of their jobs, of doing 2/5 of fuck all and getting paid very well for it, or is there something bigger to it?
That's right.
So what
Is
war
it
do
as
we
simple
have?
as personal greed?
So we got Jacquie Lambie in Parliament going Vietnam. So what war did the Vietnam vets that are still alive today? What war did they go to? We're talking about 1942. We're talking
Who the
about
fuck knows, mate? It's all run by those sitting up there just to slaughter mankind and set us against each other for useless purposes.
The Cold War, and more Australians are injured and on the streets today from the Vietnam War than what we're discussing right now. They went there, they fought. It was to do with America and a political agenda, to do with the presidency. That's the Cold War. That's the last war that we had, that our people are still on the streets now. They're Vietnam vets. And we go to Australia Day every year and we go, good on you guys. But they were sent there, and when they come back, we don't give a shit.
It's the same with every war. It's the same with every war. Our government sends our military, our boys out who are sacrificing their lives to protect this country. They come back with PTSD. We've got tens of thousands homeless with mental conditions that this government just ignores, and they die on the street. What do I... War.
Anyway, we could go on for hours, but there's so many different sides to every argument is what I'm saying. So, we can talk about religion, we can talk about this, but I think
it's all control and indoctrination.
Positive note on the new year, and hoping we make some more dents, get some more plaintiffs for that Jacquie was talking about. Mark gets his back a little bit better than what it is.
That'd be
and
great.
you're going to win 4 cases, Hyde.
And Darryl, you know what? You didn't have to put your Christmas tree up on your piano at the back there because it's there all fucking year.
Efficiency at its finest.
There it is. You didn't have to take it down. It's right
That's
there.
it. There it is. Everyone can
I
see
just
it.
hope you haven't given my family ideas
Christmas
about
every
leaving the
day.
fucking Christmas lights up for the rest of the year.
If someone tuned in tonight, they would think that you had a backdrop happening for Christmas. I just want to make it very clear that's been there forever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and my little spaceman on the moon.
Yeah, he's spaceman.
Very important one.
But yeah,
so I think there's one element we haven't really looked at here that I've got queued up, because during the conversation there, and I did put a little exclamation mark about 15 minutes ago, I'd like to say something. The Jewish money concept and all the money that's coming in from that. But where's Elbow getting his funding from when we see footage like this?
Has been to meet children throwing rocks with helicopter gunships, with tanks, and with missiles. The response of Israel has been to meet children throwing rocks with helicopter gunships, with tanks, and with missiles.
And it's not exactly a statement you could disagree with. I watched Rambo 3, and I remember that, the people of Afghanistan during Rambo 3 were freedom fighters. all of a sudden, a few years later, they'd become terrorists. It's really interesting the way the world just changes terminologies when it suits them. And that ties into the Cold War scenario we're talking about, because at that particular time, that Cold War sort of battle was being, pretty much always has been, when you really go through the last, few thousand years of territorial pissings, that sort of Middle Eastern region. And at the time, it was quite good for, Rambo to be saving, what we today call terrorists. Fascinating stuff, at a particular point there, Anthony Albanese felt it was politically, the right thing to do, or perhaps, again, actually politically right thing to do is probably the perfect terminology, because you can then speculate what that means to the cows come home. He's jumped on board with the Palestinian thing, and he's not the only one. For those out there that, really enjoy their Pink Floyd, might be interested to know Roger Waters also voices support for the Palestinian action. And he's declared independence from the UK government because they want to fucking nail him to the wall for being a UK citizen supporting Palestine. And it seems there is a big political motivation in England and now here in Australia to criticise those who would lend their support to the Palestinian cause. And I think in the last few years, it's been pretty hard to sort of look at the Israeli Defense Forces response to the October 7th incident and go, is it proportionate?
Well, if you were to go down
and again, where's Anthony Albanese's economic alliances?
Mm-hmm.
If you were to go down the DV route, you'd talk about victim-perpetrator situation. So quite often the victim ends up becoming perpetrator, because once the victim has been pushed that far, that hard, that bullied, that whatever, they turn around and they perpetrate, because there's only so much you can take. And there's
and I've seen this in my 4-year-old daughter and my 2-year-old son, who's now turning around and showing her what he's learnt from her.
Yeah.
Fun and games.
Do you
just
to
really scale it back to the basics.
Yeah, it is. It's two kids having a fight. Take it off them in the middle. What are we doing? Creating this mass hysteria where it's like, well, you don't get along, you go to that room, you go to that room, you go build a whatever, you go do this, and don't go near each other. For fuck's sake, leave me alone.
Keep your hands off each other and keep it peaceful.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to play with something, it's nanas. I'm taking it. It's confiscated.
Yeah, it's
so who's going to confiscate the guns from Israel and Palestine?
I know. It's the Andy Griffith.
Where's Nana?
The Andy Griffith, the bad book, it was banned. And it's a little girl going, can I cross now, Mum? It's a cartoon. Can I cross now? No, darling, there's cars coming. Can I cross now? No, darling, there's still cars coming. Mum, I want to cross now. Darling, there's cars. We have to wait. And in the end, Mum goes, okay, if you want to, cross. Child splattered in the middle of the road. Right?
That's a little bit more traumatic than the cutting the baby in half thing that I spoke of earlier.
It was banned. It was on 6 minutes. It's a
it has gotten violent. I guess that's what happens when we start talking about terrorism.
Yeah.
It actually has like it's a cartoon. I've got a copy of it here. It said, what happened to the little girl that asked too many questions? Oh, we dug a hole and we buried her. That's the book. It was a kid's book. And it was actually, he took the humour too far, right? But it's like that. Nanny's going to take that away from you. You're not having it to dessert unless you eat dinner. Like,
when you think about it, like Grimm's fairy tales are of a similar light. They're just not quite as direct, I guess.
It's the same with all the nursery rhymes. When you look at all of the nursery rhymes and the macabre and morbid background of the nursery rhymes. Yeah. And then we've got the real scenarios of things like, I don't know, Darryl, I don't know if it's in every state here, but we've also got a government that is funding and I guess encouraging women to go to full term to abort and then kill the babies.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is going on? We are in the depths of absolutely pure evil. We've got to stand up.
And what's the motivation behind that? Like, baby body parts that valuable?
Yeah, absolutely. Have a look up. Like, I couldn't believe it. You can just go into Google and look up what foods contain fetal matter.
Yeah.
Blow your fucking mind. They're using it as flavouring in food. And there was that show, I'm not sure where it was, if it was Australia, America, or England, where you've got a chef who prepares a meal. Like, it came across my feed, or someone showed it to me the other day, and you've got the 3 contestants, and they've eaten something that the chef's given them, and they've got to guess what the meat is. And he says it's either, I can't remember what it was, it was either maybe pork, human flesh, or shark. And you can see them go, and they go, well, it can't be human flesh. It was shark. And the other one says shark. It was human flesh.
Because you've never been told that this is human flesh that you're eating. How would you know?
That used to be a crime. Cannibalism was a crime. Anyhow, got to get the country back. We need plaintiffs.
People coming over for afternoon drinks, and we are now.
No, you're all right. I'm supposed to go to a Christmas party too. So, it has been about 3 hours. It's been a very long podcast, as much as I can think of so many more things to add, because, wow, this recent events has just got so many different little points to look at and wonder and ask questions about. I guess the final one I would put in there is just to, make sure that we've got it all. This is apparently somebody with a bit of AI got this going. Actually, hit the wrong button. That's not what I wanted to do. Where's that bloody thing? Oh, too many things open now. I can't keep track of what's going on. But anyway, you can see here. This is it's from somebody's AI search, I believe, and they've gone through the legislation. You've got AI to search it. Special Intelligence Operations Regime, Division 4, Part 3, ASIO's Crown Jewel. The Director General or Deputy applies to the Attorney General, then Brandis for an authority to run ops up to 12 months. Once greenlit, ASIO officers and affiliates get blanket immunity from civil and criminal liability for special intelligence conduct. What's that? Theft, fraud, trespass, property damage, even bodily harm if it's reasonably necessary and not reckless. So these are, subjective terms, obviously. Section 3K spells it. No jail time for hacking, lying to cops, or staging scenarios.
Like, all of these are just invalid, unlawful laws and legislation that go against the very basic morals that anyone would have. And that's the problem out of, this over 6.5 million bits of legislation and statute crap that they've written is only to persecute the people, create more hardship, and to provide themselves, indemnify themselves against harm. We the people have got to stand up and start making some bloody demands. Batty, I'm going to send you through the bank account details for the CLRA, which is Darryl Community Law Resources, for people to please help us get this country back through the courts, waking people up, and we'll make the cases available. Yeah, Darryl?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I love you all. I've got to get going. I have people arriving in 10 minutes. And
all good. I've got to get going too, so we'll wrap this up. Did you email that to me, Jackie? So goodbye, Heidi. Thank you very much for coming on. Merry Christmas, much appreciated. I'll see you in the new year.
Bye.
I don't know how to get out.
Right, I'll get you out. Yeah, there you go, sorted. All right, so Jackie, did you email that to me?
I have hold on, right now it's coming through. Go. There, send it to you now. Just done.
I'd also like to point out that Jason Clark here has said that Jacquie is spot on with the forests, Batty. I wrote an article in cairnsnews.org in 2023, Daintree covered in vines, and Warren Entench rang me to ask me to be quiet. There you go.
They're allowing this. This is why they've stopped the burns. This is the thing. Our entire environment.
They can and blame us for it.
Yeah. Our ecosystems, everything else, they are destroying everything, which puts all this. The forests are carbon sinks. They absorb. It works. They work in sync. You know, it's they absorb the CO2 and they push out oxygen for us. So they are smothering our forests, allowing them to be suffocated under these vines. It is really, really distressing. When those trees gone, we're going to have less and less oxygen. What they don't tell you is you can have a lot more CO2 in the atmosphere. That's just going to increase plant growth. But guess what the results are if you have too little oxygen in the atmosphere? Can you guess?
Weeds.
Affects the brain.
Oh,
everything they're doing is affecting the brain. Fluoride, etc. They are going after the pineal. This is the thing. They're doing everything they can. Anyhow, I could ramble on for weeks, as you know. Oh, thank you.
So, yeah, there's the details. And, of course, you can drop us an email if you need a copy of these things you'd like to contribute in some way, shape or form. Even if you're just looking for some of the resources of the things we've discussed tonight and even in previous podcasts, just drop us a line, NQ Freedom Network at protonmail.com. I do keep a record of all the things we talk about and all the links that come through to it. I am trying to sort of direct people more to the Telegram site, because the ones that I think that are very important that people should get access to and find the resources for, you will find that on Telegram. It's just a lot easier, because all the other platforms seem to be restricting of this, that, or the other, you know, whereas Telegram just takes everything. It doesn't seem to matter what format I throw the information at. It just makes life so much easier, rather than saying, well, if you want this, go to Facebook. Now, if you want that, you have to go to X. And if you want that, you have to go to YouTube. That's just a pain in the ass. It's a lot easier to just say, go to Telegram, because it will have all the bits and pieces. It's just easy. Okay, that's all. I'm not pushing it because I get paid in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I'm in debt because of the shit that I do. But anyway, what's important is I'm going for the quick and easy path. I know that's the path to the dark side. I've watched a lot of Star Wars. I'm well aware of this, but in this particular instance, we have to be efficient. And Telegram is the efficient method at this particular point, you know. Plus, you know, I guess you look like a proper conspiracy theorist by actually using Telegram, you know, and I wouldn't want anybody to cheapen my status.
And having a Proton Mail email.
That's it. You got to have a Proton Mail. You know. And it's just so much better. Like, you get away from the shit Gmails and the shit fucking bloody.
Man, they hack anything and everything. They hack everything.
Oh, you get so much.
Bring it on.
Through the Proton Mail, I don't get as much garbage come through. You know, it's actually
okay.
People, you know, and its filtration system doesn't seem to filter out the things I want while leaving the filth in. You know, unlike Hotmail, it's really good at filtering out intelligent information from conservative points of view and leaving all the ads and all the scammers who think that, I've just come across an account of, you know, $4 billion and wouldn't you, I think you're the perfect person to take this money. You know, yeah, righto. Fuck off.
I know. Oh my God. Crazy. Hey, thanks, Batty.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you. It's all good. My pleasure. Any final words before we wrap this up?
We need to get the country back. And it's up to us to do it. It's up to us to do it.
Question everything.
Question everything. In particular, anything that you see on mainstream media. So you've got John Howard 2 hours before the Bondi shooting, followed by a 6-hour coverage on every station about the Bondi shooting. It's like, for everything you see on social media, flip it 180. No, it's a lie. No, it's a psyop.
Oh yeah, and I mean, and there's always this guy. Like, I mean, I can't believe we didn't get around to doing it. But on the question everything notice here, like this needs to be looked at. And why didn't that come up? Let's try that again. This one particular video, I can't help but think, what is your browser is having trouble sharing that video? Fuck you. Doesn't like
you
that
tell
one.
it, Batty.
Fucking.
Hey, if anybody's got any, like Channel 7 put out something, I think, saying it was like an education thing, how to speak to your conspiracy friends. Well, for those who
how to speak with your dumbass mainstream friends.
I was going to say, for those that need to have a little bit of a wake up, Zeitgeist. I only just watched that a couple of weeks ago, and it's mind blowing. That's enough to make anyone's jaw hit the ground and go, fuck.
I remember watching that. I think it was about 2010. A couple of mates of mine were, oh, you got to see this. You got to see this. And I sat down for, I think, about 15 minutes, and I just turned to them and said, so how long have you been watching Star Trek for? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, man, this is a Star Trek utopian society right here. How did you not?
It digs deep into the all of the bits. So I think it's broken into about 3 bits. So you've got the beginning of it, which starts to speak about religion, and then the middle of it is a fantastic expose on the Twin Towers, and like what you did just then with all the news stations saying the same thing. It's all terrorism. Just plastered all over with 9/11. It shows the buildings. It shows all the analogies. How they, instead of any investigation, they just, they got all of the rubble from those buildings, scooped them up and sent them in shipping containers over to China. And it ends up speaking about the fiat system and the way the world is run, and how crooked it is. Inflation is just a fiction, how they're just printing money and keeping everyone in a slave system. So if all you're doing is working all your life to keep a roof over your head and food on the table, you're a fucking slave.
Pretty much. The damn shame is that most people get the feeling, geez, I feel like a slave. Apparently we signed up on the dotted line as pointed up by the little dot. That,
but we got the footy this weekend. I can drink a beer.
So you gave us out the consent to make you a slave. You're a willing slave, whether you realize it or not. But look, I couldn't grab the video thing, so I thought I'd grab the actual,
Oh, you had to take a selfie.
Old mate, with the mate. Yeah, exactly. I'm looking at. Did he take a selfie, or did he stop to actually film what was going on while he'd been hit? Again, there's that shot. And much like there's another shot where you see old mate, like he's just bolt, like with the bolt action rifle, he's shooting like a professional. But somebody managed to get in behind him and get a bloody good camera angle without getting shot themselves. Much like the moon landing, everyone forgot about the cameraman when they were watching that.
The other thing with him, there's another photo that's getting around with him in hospital.
This guy had exactly the same head wound in October the 7th and in Bondi.
That was the other thing.
The blood even goes to the same side of the face, And the
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I knew that.
I don't think I can play the video because it's not playing, but I'll probably find a way to get the screenshot up at least. Give me a second. But yeah, it's exactly the same.
Apparently there were several repeat actors in there from, I don't even know what the event was on the 7th of October, but there were a couple of repeat actors from October 7 in what just occurred in Bondi. And what colour is that blood? It doesn't even look like blood. It's crimson. And there's a shot of him in the hospital. I mean, you just don't know what to trust with AI these days, but there's not a mark on his shiny shaved head. And then the next photo, he's got the bandage on.
Yeah. And you look at this bandage and you're like, really? Who ties a bandage like that?
And somebody else said, who works with the paramedics, they said, since when do you get a fucking head wound like that and you just start walking around? Doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
Why wasn't the rest of his face cleaned to see if there was any other damage? And the other,
He's got to look dramatic.
If we go through a little, or is it a bit earlier, I think you can actually see he's got United States Marines T-shirt on. You can't, it doesn't quite. You can kind of see it here.
There's also another video
across the top, and just underneath here, if we can just, Marines is written here. He just happens to have a United States Marines T-shirt on. Isn't that interesting too?
The other thing is there's video footage going around where he's walking like through the crowd, and it could be at just any day at Bondi. People are laughing and walking around like nothing's happened. And all I did was picture what goes on when we were protesting in Melbourne, where you've got the protests and it's like, what the fuck's going on over there? Mainstream media is setting up. What the fuck is that over there? Who the fuck's that guy? And they're staging this scenario to show on the TV, which has nothing to do with the protest. Some actor.
Yeah. It was the same when they raided Canberra. You know, the media turned up long before the police. They were already there to film and get all the shots. Like, isn't that interesting?
Look, we need a People's Commission. We need, seriously, I don't, Darryl, what are we going to do?
I've already said, ask questions.
Ask questions. Look, this is the thing. Question everything. Do not consent and do not comply. We've got to stand up. Please support us trying to fight these matters through the courts. We need plaintiffs, and you'll be, well, how can I say that? You won't be left in the lurch. We'll be behind you 100% of the way. I'll be in the courtroom. Be in the courtroom with anyone who wants to take up the role of a plaintiff. But other than that, Commonwealth custodians, come over and come back into the true Commonwealth. Let us create government peacefully and lawfully and under the supreme written law of this land, the Constitution, set things up how they should be.
So, questions to ask. Now, I got this from Dale Holmes. This is the beginning of one of his recent videos.
He's a good man, Dale. I like a lot of the stuff he does.
Action. I don't know if it's a. I find out the name of it, Rob. But look at this. Tell me, whoever shot a bolt action. Look at this action that he's doing. Go ahead, Rob. Look at this. Boom, boom, boom. Reload. Dude, that's
smooth.
That guy has been trained.
He's been trained. There's no way you know that's an average guy.
That's not an average guy. And how? By the way, this guy and his father, they had 6 guns, well trained. It was on a mission. And by the way, this is a pattern.
Describe the scene on Bondi Beach as.
So straight away, I'm like, who got that shot and didn't get shot? I'm sorry. I mean, I've been a camera operator. I'm not willing to put myself in that fucking position. I know there's some diehards out there that are willing to do those sorts of things, I guess. But I'm like, wow, that was some pretty full-on footage. But there's more.
Damien Ryan spoke with a Jewish man who...
Oh, shut the fuck up.
Oh, yeah.
And he's one with the wife and the 2 kids. He was in Israel and survived October 7th. Oh, shut the fuck up.
I can't there. The bloke on the bridge got a Jewish bloke who was there in October the 7th. How fucking could that be?
Spoke with a Jewish man who survived the October 7 massacre.
Oh, no, it was the guy at the Charlie Kirk thing that put his hand up. He was at like another 4 different false flags. Dad, how are you going to go to sleep
Fucking, he was at October the 7th in fucking Israel.
And how many Australians are going, oh my God, you can't be for real.
Oh, here is Van Monis on the bridge.
Only for him to be injured in the chaos of today's shooting. And a warning, some viewers may find this interview confronting.
Astronomically.
So we're just looking at Jewish leaders over here hugging each other. I mean, what else can you do?
So people hit, so people fall to the ground. My only concern was, where are my kids? Where are my kids? Where's my wife? Where's my family? I survived October 7th. I lived in Israel the last 13 years. We came here only 2 weeks ago to to work with the Jewish community to fight anti-Semitism, to fight this bloodthirsty, ravaging hatred.
That's why you're here.
That's why I'm here.
Human rights.
We've lived through worse. We're going to get through this, and we're going to get the bastards that did this.
Oh, Zionist strategy.
Did you see the gunman?
I did. I saw at least one gunman firing. Looked like a shotgun firing randomly in all directions. I saw children falling to the floor. So elderly. I saw invalids. I saw. People it was an absolute bloodbath, blood gushing everywhere. October 7th, that's the last time I saw this. I'd never.
All the way just casually puts October 7th was the last time I seen this.
His eyes are lying. His eyes are lying. Those eyes are
dark.
Evil. Yeah. Look, the other thing is, this is the most important thing, I think, is that we've got to recognise this government will stop at nothing. They are murdering people. Innocent people have lost their lives again. The same as Port Arthur, where they concealed the files for 75 years. We have got to start demanding everything is opened up and transparent. This is absolutely it. They mass murderers.
Especially in the case of something like the Port Arthur scenario, that was just a lone, gunman. There's no political affiliation or religious motive. There's nothing. There's just one person. So how is it a national security issue that that a lone gunman with no affiliation to any foreign body, entity, denomination, like he's basically just a dude by himself who was mentally ill? How can you conceal that information? Under what grounds? I don't see
what they've done. I'll tell you what they've done, Batty. They have
how pathetic our national security is.
Yeah, they have concealed 40 eyewitness statements that clearly state that was not Martin Bryant. The coroner at the time refused to, or was told not to investigate, not to look at the body at all. And the coroner said, look, we didn't want to discover anything that went against what the state's narrative, basically. So you had that's exactly right. Look into it. There were 2 refrigerated trucks that were taken over to Tasmania and parked out the front, ready for the bodies. The back doors of the cafe had been nailed shut. The anomalies in this are insane. New South Wales MP
to the site, and all that's left is a few walls, and it's basically overgrown now. Like there's a few walls left of the cafe, a mural, and we had to look for it, and that was fucking. I reckon that would have been close to 16, 17.
I actually thought they'd pulled it down. They got rid of all the evidence.
They've left a few of the stone walls, and I remember looking around going, is that a bullet hole? Like, what's that? Looking at what's left. What's left is fuck all, and a mural, and it's overgrown.
And the
planted a garden for it intentionally to be overgrown and forgotten about.
Absolutely. The gun Martin Bryant used.
Tasmania would like to give us a little bit more. I was just kind of blowing in, blowing out at the time.
Go to Wasp. The gun Martin Bryant used.
I was there in Port Arthur the year before that happened, and that's what kind of I was. It was 96, so I'm in high school at the time. I remember when that fucking happened and seeing it on the news and going, shit, I was only just there not long ago. Fuck me. That could have been
the gun. The gun that Martin Bryant used came from a gun that was being kept in police storage. I can't remember if it was Victoria or Sydney. It was a gun that was handed in. How the fuck did that gun get from a police lockup into Martin Bryant's hands? Huh? And then you've got the New South Wales
who allegedly sold him the weaponry claim straight out. That no, I never sold him weaponry. Yes, he came in here. No, I never sold him anything.
Yep. And then you've got the New South Wales minister or someone that a couple of months prior was speaking about trying to tighten up on our gun laws. And he actually says, oh, look, we won't be able to do anything about tightening the gun laws up unless there's a massacre in Tasmania. 2 months later.
And it had to be in Tasmania, nowhere else.
Tasmania.
Only Tasmania. Fascinating.
And the government have sealed the files, the evidence of their guilt, of their mass murder.
Hence, no trial.
No trial whatsoever. And this is the other thing that needs to be looked at as well. Martin Bryant will have been tortured for days. They tortured a confession out of him.
Mm.
Like,
what's it? 30 years? 30 years now? I mean, what would you consider incarceration without trial for 30 years? What I don't know. So, Darryl, what do you reckon the legal definition of that is?
Well, it's withholding. You can't withhold that sort of information. That's got to be.
What are we going to do about it, Darryl?
Well, the right plaintiff has to come forward and
we want to open that up as well.
We want to open up the files that have been closed because it's in the public interest to open those files up so that we can all see what actually took place.
And just to answer Kerry's question, it should be good enough. How could a guy be a crack shot with the mentality of a 9-year-old?
He couldn't. And this is the other evidence. You've got all the expert shooters, champion marksmen that said it's impossible. I couldn't even do it. There was more shooters there.
Even during the JFK investigations, the Russians actually determined, can it be possible to shoot a moving target with a bolt-action rifle with a 2-second interval between each shot? And Russians did determine if you're an absolute crack shot, it could be done, but they did it with fixed targets. So shot, bang, realign, shot, bang, realign, shot on a fixed target. Lee Harvey Oswald was going up against a moving target, but it was determined by the Russians because they knew they would possibly cop the blame. So they had to do their own investigation into the possibility of that. And we just seen again footage of a bolt-action rifle being shot at very high speed with absolute military precision, because anybody who's got any fucking, experience with a gun, particularly a bolt-action rifle, knows that when you cock that thing, your aim is completely out.
Right.
You've got to re-aim. So the speed at which old mate cocks that and then re-aims again and shoots is bloody quick, insanely quick. I certainly don't have any of those sorts of skills. And I don't know many 24-year-olds, because the guy was 24. How much time did he spend from the age of, whenever that he first picked up a gun using a bolt-action rifle with that kind of precision?
In some countries, they put guns. Some countries give their children guns to, train. Whether that's Oh, was he?
Yeah, the 24-year-old was born in Australia. So as the timeline goes, I believe it's about 96 or something around there. His father comes over on a student visa, which is another one of the big problems that's been pointed out millions of times with the current immigration system. People come over on a student visa and all of a sudden they're here forever. Well, this is a perfect example. And as Senator Jared Rennick pointed out earlier, he didn't even have citizenship, but he had a gun license. What the fuck?
Once again, government has failed.
Come over on a student visa, within a year or two has a child whilst on that student visa, which is no doubt what's kept him here in the country. That child has grown up into the 24-year-old that's gone along with him and developed an amazing ability to use a fucking bolt-action rifle. Just some basic facts that should.
I think if you look at every single massacre, including the ones over in America in the schools, everything is very nefarious. Nothing makes sense. And I will say that most of those, to the best of my knowledge, all of those massacres in schools, etc., the ones that have been blamed for it, were all on pharmaceutical medication that causes all kinds of mind-altering hallucinations.
Yeah, antidepressants and the likes.
And the likes. So we're being poisoned by Big Pharma. We've got it. There is so much that needs to be
I
corrected.
don't know if any of
Overwhelming.
these assailants have had that kind of medical treatment. I don't know that. I've not seen any evidence of that, but it is an element to consider, particularly when there's no.
Oh, no. I was saying in the school massacres, in the school massacres in America, to the best of my knowledge, that all of those kids that committed the mass shootings in the schools, all of them were on pharmaceutical medication. I'm not saying with Bondi. Sorry, just clarify.
Make sure we clarified that. That's
yes, yeah.
All good. Well, we should probably wrap this up. Bladder is full. I've got to get to a party. Thoroughly enjoyed this party. Sips to all you mob. Thank you very much for being guests and supporting the North Queensland Freedom Network throughout the year and sharing your amazing minds with the general populace. I'm sure everybody who's watching now and in the future, I appreciate all your amazing hard work. And we look forward to doing even more amazing things in the new year.
Look forward.
Thanks, Batty.
My pleasure.
See you, mate.
Ciao, everyone. Let's get the country back, make our forefathers proud.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We're the power.
That's it.
Rock
Power
and
of
roll.
the people. All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Merry Christmas. I don't know what the future holds as far as the shows at the moment, making it up as I go. But one final sips for you, and I'll see you soon.